What's up, my friends in film fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching? Thank you so much for giving us just a little bit of your time. Back to full strength, only for like the second time in the last 3 months. The whole lineup is here. All of my amazing co-hosts are here to go after one of the movies that I think is one of the worst Oscar snubs in history. I'll explain that. I'll explain why I think that later. But here to talk about it, of course, is returning, hopefully on a more permanent basis now, is the Dowager Countess Lady Cora. How are you tonight, ma'am?
I'm great. I saved a lot of money because the plumbers were nice and stuck to the estimate and didn't charge us an extra $6,000. So I'm happy.
How nice of them.
Adulting, homeownership, fun times. Things are good. And yes, I'll be around more often.
Yeah, you've been busy though. In all fairness, you've been kind of busy. So, Yeah. But and of course,
BJ says she can't hear us in the chat.
It may have been because sometimes the music drowns me out, but I think it should be good now.
Oh.
All I know is I can hear you guys, and if you guys can hear me, then I should be okay. But and of course, my hetero life mate Jeremy. What's up, brother?
I hope everybody can hear because I hope you're ready for this because I brought the noise. Well, I had about, I don't know, 10 minutes to put this together, but I thought, hey, I'm no dummy. But this seemed like a pretty
he laughs at my segues and gives us a joke like that.
I know. Funny. That's my humor. So yeah, I at least had this to be able to put together because that's how closet cosplay works. You just throw shit on and well, you get the point.
You know what though? This is a testament to your creativity though. I mean, imagine if I gave you like 6 months to really put something together. It's like he put together something that is perfect for this movie in about 10 minutes. It's very basic, but it looks great. It fits for the movie. I've got a great picture that's going to compare great to Jeremy here later on. But yeah,
you'll know what it is when you see it.
His creativity, though, even off the cuff, is top notch, and I think it's a testament to you.
The show must go on, man. It's the first time I put on makeup for the show too. So, and trust me, it won't be the last time.
I think you wore makeup before.
That wasn't for this show. That was for something else he does.
No. It was for one of you had like eyeliner on because you were trying to look like, and you had a leather jacket on with patches. And there was something you had a little bit of eyeliner on.
I was thinking maybe
for Eddie
time. No, I mean I did wear the Jack Sparrow hat on here when Johnny Depp won his case. Maybe that's when I did it. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't doubt it.
And then, of course, the one guy who himself has driven around many an ice cream cart trying to trick kids into his ice cream cart. The shape of the Lone Star State, our man Tex. What's up, buddy?
You can't prove any of that. That is all allegedly, by the way. But no, I hope everybody is celebrating Texas Chainsaw Day accordingly. You know, pick an enemy that you really don't like and just go hack it to death. I've got a list. Do y'all have one? Because mine's getting longer by the day. So,
I know I'm on your list, so I hope your list doesn't ever get fulfilled.
No, you're safe. You're on my good people list, which is very short. There's like 8 people on there, so you get everybody on this call is safe, but others need to watch out because I'm just like this far from snapping. You just wait. It's gonna happen.
He's gonna start painting his own Joker face on. Is what's gonna start happening.
It's gonna get serious real quick. And,
didn't you say something about a Negan bat?
I can't wait. Is there any way to put a chainsaw on a Negan bat? Can I do that somehow, one way or another?
What about the end of it?
Maybe
there's got to be some way to fabricate that.
Like that chick in that one movie. They had this leg stump that when she lifted her leg up, there was a machine gun on the bottom of it.
That would be Planet Terror. I love that movie.
Oh yeah.
Well,
hope everybody's doing well.
Yeah, let's get right to it. And again, one of my absolute favorite movies, and I will give you all the reasons why over the course of the next hour and a half or so, is Killer Klowns from Outer Space. This is a 1988 American science fiction horror comedy film written, directed, and produced by the famous Chiodo Brothers. It stars Grant Cramer, Suzanne Snyder, John Allen Nelson, and John Vernon. It is the only film written and directed by the Chiodo Brothers, who also created the practical effects and makeup. It concerns a clan of evil extraterrestrials who resemble clowns. They arrive on Earth and invade a small town in order to capture, kill, and harvest the human inhabitants to use as sustenance by drinking their blood. Sequels have been in developmental hell since the original film's release. Stephen Chiodo stated in 2016 that he hopes to provide 3 additional films or possibly a television series. In 2018, NBC Universal Sci-Fi announced that it was in talks to license the right to make 1 or more sequels. Released in the United States on May 27th of 1988, the film was a financial success, making roughly $43 million against a budget of only $1.8 million. But a lot of that, it should be noted, came after the fact. It only made about $3 million in its initial theatrical run. A lot of that money has come in secondary home media sales over the years since. So, but still, it's profitable. And the film has been considered, of course, a cult classic. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an average score of 76 based on 25 critic reviews. The site's consensus reads, quote, Killer Klowns from Outer Space title promises dark, goofy fun, and more often than not, the movie delivers. It sounds like a really cold kind of review, but I mean, honestly, it does. I mean, the movie promises, to be a B-rate, low-budget horror movie, and it delivers just that, but there's a lot of laughs. There's some decent special effects for the time anyway. There is a lot of fun action. There's a lot of comedy in it. I mean, it delivers from all the different angles. I don't know. Jeremy, I'll start with you real quick. Give me a quick paragraph. What do you think of this movie?
It's one of those movies that it's like, it's cheesy. It's goofy, dumb things like, putting together a balloon animal dog and suddenly it resembles a dog. And, it's going to go sniff out the humans you're looking for. Yeah. It's don't really take it too seriously. I mean, some of the things like the practical effects and the clowns and whatnot are kind of scary, especially the little ones that came out of like the girl's like hamper or like medicine cabinet. Those are kind of terrifying, actually. So it's got some scary beats, but it's also got just some goofy fun because, a lot of stuff you expect clowns to do, like leaving little footprints comically into the room, and then all of a sudden it's all over the whole wall. Or you go to jump out your second story window, and they're all there just like firefighters with a little, trampoline. Like, go ahead, jump. So, yeah, just Yeah, that. You got to jump out your window, and you don't want to see that. So maybe take a different route. But yeah, it's just dumb, goofy, fun, cheesy '80s horror movie. So it's a fun time.
Yeah. Tex, I'll go to you next. Again, one of the films that we've talked about doing this for a long time, and I think we all kind of smile and laugh. This movie hits us in kind of a special spot just by mentioning the name. Quick paragraph, what you think of the film?
Essential 80s entry horror, I think, is the best way to describe this film. Not really scary. You don't really get. I think the most blood you get from this is like when they see the face through the cotton candy or whatever. It's one of those 80s movies that everybody knows about. It's so visual. It's so out there. It's so eye-catching. I mean, the colors alone draw you in. And especially, thanks to the company, Spirit Halloween. Killer Klowns owes a lot to Spirit Halloween. I don't know if you realize that or not. They basically brought them back from the dead and made them relevant again. But it's one of those movies you need to see, and we say that a lot, but this is definitely one.
Yeah, now Cora, you're the one who I'm kind of most interested in for getting some of your thoughts on this film. I know that clowns are not really your thing, scary clowns even less so. But you humored us by watching this movie, and I'm interested. Give me a quick paragraph before we go do our deep dive into it. What do you think of the film?
Well, I'll start with the title. It feels like they just put a bunch of words in a hat. The word killer, clown, and outer space came out of the hat. And they just put them together and decided, let's write a movie about this shit. First of all, rest in peace, Pooh Bear, and fuck you for killing a dog and making me witness it at the very beginning and being sad about it the whole fucking time. I don't know. I'll say this: it was a movie. It's unique. There's probably never going to be another movie like this, and I can say I watched it.
Technically, did the dog die though?
Yes.
They do mention in some other videos that I've watched about
I'll
this
say
movie
this:
and research
I
and
didn't
stuff
hate
like
it
that.
as
The
much
dog
as some of
is
the other
dead.
shit I've watched. Okay, but
well,
it's on
like,
the list of things that I wish I didn't have watched. But I don't think it'll give me nightmares. And there's my biggest frustration is if they're from outer space, how the fuck do they know what human culture's idea of what a clown is, and how do they know English if they speak this, as I had on subtitles, alien speaking? It's like
You're
there's
asking the wrong
sometimes.
questions for a movie like this.
Okay.
You're
Turn your brain off
thinking
and it's
way
not
too
happening.
deep. You're
I'll
thinking
say
way too hard to enjoy this movie.
visually speaking, the lighting was good. The casting was pretty good. Um, I only had to see one girl's nipples, so that was pretty cool. There was light on the nudity and that kind of stuff, so that was nice. It was okay. I mean,
I don't
I
think the
wouldn't own
nudity
it.
counts though because it was through lingerie. I don't count that as nudity. She's wearing
I
clothing.
saw nipples, unfortunately. It was like,
Just
oh
saying.
boy.
I'm,
I don't know.
unless fresh, actual skin is hanging out, that's not nudity. So it's wrong.
But let's get started off and let's talk for a minute just about the Chiodo brothers themselves. I mean, they they were already kind of known in Hollywood at the time. They were making themselves known rather for doing a lot of the special effects stuff. Obviously, they handled most of the effects for this. They kind of farmed most of the special effects out, but they did handle some stuff. But that's what they're known for. That's what they were known for after this. I mean, they did this. They did the little critters for the film Critters, the little bald hairy monsters. They've done a lot of stuff. They've worked on a lot of big name stuff. So I mean, these guys were making a name for themselves in Hollywood. They actually own their own special effects shop in Los Angeles. They decided just to make a movie and came up with this. But the Chiodo brothers, they've been a part of. They haven't quite been at the level of like a Stan Winston or a Rick Baker, but when you say Chiodo brothers in Hollywood, they are widely regarded as some of the best to do this. I mean, I'll go to you first, Tex, since you're one of the guys that's really into the horror and the visual stuff. What do you think of the work that Chiodo brothers did, not just on this, but kind of their body of work to this point as a whole?
Well, like I said, these guys, just speaking for this film in general, real quickly, they made something that stands out so iconically when you see it, you know it automatically. There is, I mean, as Corey even said a minute ago, she's never seen anything like this before. Since '88 when this came out, they've made 1,000 other clown movies and got nowhere near the. They take this is like if Pee Wee's Playhouse was killing you. It's kind of what this movie looks like visually, and they make it work. From the cotton candy that looks like fiberglass insulation to the brightly colored stripes of different patterns and colors on everything. There's just so much. The effects and the way everything looks, it's just, you feel like you're going on like a 3D ride at Six Flags or something when you're watching this. It's the special effects, everything just feels otherworldly intentionally, and I think it works perfectly. This movie knows what it is. The special effects know what they are, and they're not apologizing for it. And anytime somebody can do something like that, it's always done well.
Yeah, Jeremy, how about you as the other resident special effects expert? Somebody who actually does this practical stuff, in his free time, a lot. You're coming to the spooky season, of course. So you're gonna be you've got a lot of that work coming up. What do you think of some of the work that they've done over the years? Because I'm looking at their credited special effects, and I mean, there's some stuff on here that you wouldn't know it, but I mean, as soon as I read you the list, you'd be like, holy shit, they work on all those things. I mean, what do you think of their work so far?
Yeah, even just for this movie, with the clowns, like, it's one thing to make, different clowns, but it's like the fact that they made them look unique enough. It's like, oh, you can tell we each one apart, and you get excited. You're like, oh, look, it's the little short one with his little tricycle. He's adorable.
There's like 20 something clowns and different designs in this movie alone. They did some work with that.
And that's the impressive part, is that they did do all of this themselves. So, I mean, I got to give them credit for taking on this whole movie, basically. And And we know we definitely know the little short one's definitely a fan of Jason Takes Manhattan. So if you know, you know.
Knock my block off.
Right.
We lost Cora. Didn't realize we lost
And
Cora.
she's back.
She's back.
She got sent to outer space real quick.
Yeah, the movie gods didn't like me hating the movie, so you know.
We have to save her from the orb. You know, let's go do it.
I'm in a balloon.
Yeah. But even just the tent, which has definitely got some they must have ran into Doctor Who at some point, because that thing is definitely bigger on the inside. Like just the design on the inside of the big top tents, like you kind of expect that. Like, I mean, yeah, it's a little decent sized tent, but you get inside and then like you're all of a sudden looking at like an MC Escher looking hallway and a whole bunch of different crap in there, and big angler fish for some reason. You know what I mean? It's like, it just feels like you're just like, holy shit, what is behind door number 2? What's behind door number 3? Like, you know, the imagination was there for sure. And, you know, when you got a goofy premise like this, I mean, it works. Why not, why not cocoons made out of, I guess, cotton candy? So we assume. I don't know how it tastes. I mean, I also wish I had that crazy straw, because that's just ridiculous, and I love it. I was trying to find one. I'm like, I know I've got one, but
I need to get one of those specially made for you. It's gonna have all kinds of twists. It's gonna take a gallon of liquid just to prime it so you can actually drink it.
By the time I get there, I'm like, I don't want it anymore.
But Cora, I know you're probably not as familiar with the work of the Chiodo Brothers, not being
I never even
especially
heard of
especially not being a fan of some of the special effects stuff that us three guys are all fans of. But
Never heard
I mean,
of it.
but if I like, I'm gonna go ahead and do this now to kind of see what, because I'm sure you've heard of a few of these things. I mean, in the early '80s, they did something called Flicks, which I don't know anything about. They did something called they did a small quadrilogy of films called Critters. They actually did all the critter designs and see.
I think I was forced to watch one of those, the things that come up through the ground.
Another thing that comes from space,
Yes.
a little hairy thing, but whatever. It's we're going to at least
No.
Tremors. I'm thinking
Tremors. Yeah, Tremors.
Tremors. Yeah, no.
Tremors is a great
Yeah.
movie too. But
No.
actually, you know, a couple of movies we just worked on. They actually did the 6000 XUX commercial for the movie RoboCop, which we just talked about a few days ago. Another movie we just did recently. They did some of the claymation and some of the effects for UHF. They also worked on Ernest Scared Stupid. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. They worked on Elf. They worked on Team America World Police.
Yep.
Another movie we talked about fairly recently was Pee-wee's Big Adventure. They actually did that famous scene of the whole claymation thing of Large Marge doing her whole scary face. So that was their work as well. So, I mean, not widely known, but then again, very important to the special effects game and the way it's evolved in
Hollywood,
Hollywood,
kind of like
especially
their
in practical
creative
effects.
baby, like could truly showcase all their work then.
Something like that, yeah. I mean, I'm sure. Look, everybody who works in Hollywood wants to try to make their own movie because they all want to try to make it popular. But I mean, some guys are just really good at this kind of stuff. So they've also did things like fairy tale theater and what else do they do? Some sci-fi thing called Monsters, Survival Island. I've never heard of. King Cobra from 1999. Never heard of that either. The Mr. Potato Head show from back in the day. I vaguely remember that. It was back in the late 90s. The Stupids was a great movie. They did some stuff on that as well. But yeah, they've been involved in a lot of stuff. Most recently, the thing I could find on here is Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I never saw that movie. It's like a stop motion animation thing. But yeah, I mean, these guys have been around for a while. I mean, they've also worked on things like let's see, The Simpsons. They've worked on Gumby, Wallace and Gromit.
Oh, I love Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, and apparently they're working on something with Jon Favreau for Netflix. In 2019, I'm sure this was all delayed because of the pandemic. It was announced that Chiodo Brothers are developing a stop-motion animated adaptation of the book Alien Christmas, written by Stephen Chiodo and Jim Strain, for Netflix with executive producer Jon Favreau. The adaptation, also titled Alien Christmas. I'm sorry, it was released on Netflix November 2020. So they worked on something for Netflix as well with with Jon Favreau, who gave us the first couple Iron Man movies. So I mean, I may have to go check that one out. I didn't realize that had come out. But yeah, I mean, these guys have been around for a while. Look, I mean, they're experts at what they do. I mean, look, the practical effects, and we talked about this a little bit we talked about Rick Baker the other day. The practical effects, they're kind of a lost art in Hollywood. Everything's going to be CGI. Everything's going to be, computers. Everything is going to be a lot of green screen and added in stuff and mocap. The days of practical effects, sadly, are kind of over. So these guys were the lesser known of the great practical effects guys. I mean, come on. So many great masks, so many great moments, so many great visuals.
That's
Yeah. I mean, I don't think CGI does this. You know what I mean? I don't think CGI can give us that that moist look, that kind of like it's
seeing it for real. It's like,
kind of thing. Yeah, you're seeing all the dimensions when you see it in practical effects, and you don't really see that when you're on. You can tell where the shading is there on like the CGI stuff. You can tell kind of where it's all.
A lot of work was put into this. Every clown looked different.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You could easily make them all look all the same,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad they got a chance to at least try something. And look, this movie has stood the test of time now for 30-something years, 34 years. This is considered one of the.
It has stood the test of time, but it went away for a long time. This is one of those movies that it came out, it made a big splash, and then it kind of died for a while. It was the only place you really found this was like at horror conventions. You'd see a random VHS or whatever. Somebody like Jeremy would be doing a cosplay to it or something. And then once, like I referred to earlier, once the Spirit Halloween got real big into the Halloween business, obviously, they picked up Killer Klowns from Outer Space, Trick or Treat, which is a movie that I think we need to review come October. I think it's the best Halloween movie ever made besides, Michael Myers. I'll see you, Rachel. And the dog. And then, but no, when Spirit Halloween picked us up,
Buttercup!
They got
Not gonna give me some of that shit.
Spirit Halloween had picked up Killer Klowns because it was a franchise.
Oh, you are not eating cotton candy. Rachel.
That's all I can get.
Sorry, Tex. You can put me on the kill list if you want.
No, y'all go ahead. You're fine.
Well, you didn't buy two of these just to give me one little pitiful handful. The hell?
Buttercup.
She's more interested in the cotton candy. Or it's the name.
Go ahead.
I don't know.
Go ahead, Tex.
Don't mind me.
But yeah, like I said, whenever Spirit Halloween was really, starting to grow or whatever, they got Killer Klowns from Outer Space, Trick or Treat, like some of the lower end horror stuff that had a lot of products they could make from the properties, and they were cheap because there wasn't anybody doing anything with Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Oh. And they've made the masks, the guns, multiple Funko Pops, keychains, cups, anything that they could put this franchise on, they've sold. And that really helped bring it back to the prominence to the point where there's a video game being developed for Killer Klowns from Outer Space right now. Yeah. So, I mean, as far as the movies and stuff go, I mean, who knows if that'll ever happen, but we do know for sure there is I don't know what style of video game it is, if it's like open world or whatever, I'm not sure. But we do know that there is one I do know that there is one being made because I actually saw updates on it a couple days ago on Twitter. They were showing the visuals and whatnot.
Because I was gonna say the last time I saw something was like the announcement like a year ago. I haven't seen anything since.
Yeah, this background image in the screen right now, actually, that's behind us. It's actually from one of the adverts for the video games.
Okay.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah. But yeah, no, the other day they showed some character models of what some of the main clowns are going to look like, and it's just digital versions of what we see in this film. It looks that cool. I mean, obviously you're seeing it in the background, right?
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
Go ahead, Cora.
Silly question. This may be a squirrel moment, but what if all they do is suck blood through a straw? Why the fuck do they have teeth?
Because they look scary on camera.
Okay.
Well,
because you don't want to have
be fair. Well, not just that, but when they made this movie, I doubt they probably had enough money to make the scary clowns have teeth, but not enough money to put them into action. So they just show you and not use. I mean, the This is not like they had like an MCU budget where they could do whatever they kind of had to work with as they had. You know.
To be fair, the little ones did start biting her shoulder and shit when they came out.
Oh, that's true. I totally forgot about the ones that came out of the hamper in the bathroom.
I mean, maybe they were teething, but still. But.
Yeah, I disagree with Tex. I disagree with Tex that this movie had not been in the consciousness for a while. When I moved here in the early 90s, through most of high school and into my 20s here in the Midwest, this was still a movie that like people talked about. I mean, it was like when we would watch horror movies
all the time.
Yeah.
This is when around the time that Scream was coming out, and we were in that like mid 90s era of horror stuff. There was a lot of people that would talk about some of the older horror movies. This is one of the ones that I would hear people talk about all the time. This is way before I got involved in YouTube or anything like that. This is when I was just a movie fan watching, way too many movies. This was something that a lot of the horror fans that I knew were always like, oh yeah, this movie's pretty cool. And it was one that was kind of one of the, like, if you saw it come on TV, or maybe a couple people had it on VHS. When DVD was becoming a thing, a couple of people had it on DVD. But yeah, I mean, this has always been a movie that's been out there. Now, I would say that Spirit Halloween in what was it, 2018, something like that, had decided to kind of go heavy with some of the marketing and stuff, and decided to like give it like a whole wall inside their stores. That probably helped. That helped a lot. But I mean, I think for the last, I mean, it's not a recent thing to go back to older properties. I mean, a lot of people want to think it is, but I mean, but it's happened at spots here in filmmaking and in cinema for a long time. I mean, in the mid-late 80s, they went back and did the Return to Oz or something like that, which was supposed to be a straight up sequel to The Wizard of Oz, which didn't do well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's always been this idea to go back to old properties.
James Franco in it.
No. Before that, back in the 80s. Yeah, but before that, it was back in the
late
80s.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking of a different album.
And then there was The Wiz.
Yeah, The Wiz, which is a whole. That actually, The Wiz was the late 70s. But it actually was a much better movie than Return to Oz or whatever the hell the other one was.
Fair.
But I mean, yeah, I think it's always been out there in the consciousness. It's just that media, I don't think, was ready for it yet. It's because up until the age of the internet came in the early mid 90s. Once there wasn't another platform for things to have longer lifespans like there is now. It's like nowadays, if you see a movie you like, whether the movie does good or bad, you can go do your own fan fiction. I mean, how much Harry Potter fan fiction is out there? There's whole websites dedicated to Harry Potter fan fiction of shit that was not written by J.K. Rowling or anybody involved in the production of the movies, but there's stuff to keep it alive. Whereas back in the 80s and into the 90s, there wasn't anything like that. And once that came around in the 90s, a lot of these smaller properties like this were kind of given a new life. I just watched this documentary about I was talking to Tex about the Monster Squad, and even they were just like, there came a point where I want to say it was like in the mid 2000s that this thing kind of the whole thing kind of took on a different life, and I think a lot of that is because of the way that things can be kept alive on a website or a Facebook page or Twitter or whatever now. But I think this movie's kind of always been out there. I think this movie's always been one that that horror fans have always kind of leaned on as like kind of a comfort movie for a lot of horror fans, because it has some good special effects stuff. It has some comedy. So it's kind of like, I drink Di Serono and I want to drink something, but I don't want to drink anything too heavy. That's kind of what it is to horror fans. It's that sweet little treat. It's got a little bit of blood. It's got scary monsters with teeth and all that. But at the same time, it's kind of a fun watch that you can almost sit there and watch with your 8-year-old. You know what I mean?
Because there's not a lot of sex in it. There's not a lot of gore. And the plot's easy to follow. And what I'll say this about it, it's nice that it all happens in one night, and it's not drawn out. Like there's something really special about, in my opinion, movies that almost feel like it's happening in real time for the time length of the movie. So that I did like. So yeah, I hear. It
also helps with the pacing of the movie as well. If it's just if this 2-hour-long movie takes place over the course of 6 hours or so, you can kind of you can pace it a lot differently. If the movie is set over a shorter period of time, you can kind of control the pacing a lot easier, I think.
Agreed.
Well, y'all do realize this movie is just a 80s telling of a late 50s, early 60s, Attack of the Giant Monster kind of movie. You've got the small town. You've got the cop who doesn't believe, a very small police force, whatever. You've got the hangout spot where all the teams go to make out at, right? all this is a late 50s sci-fi movie with, instead of a giant lizard or spider, it's killer clowns. It's just the 80s version of it, which
actually
is,
this movie
is why it works.
Yeah, this movie draws a lot of comparisons to The Blob. It's kind of a different telling of that. Only it's killer clowns instead of movie stuff.
Tex, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think the makeup that Jeremy's wearing that looks like the cop at the end? Do you think that was the inspiration for those Saw movies? The guy with the red circles on his cheeks.
There it is. It's like looking in a mirror.
Do you think that was inspiration for the Saw thing with the circles on the cheek?
I mean, maybe.
It's obviously there, but considering the puppet from Saw is already a puppet, and that's kind of traditional for that, anyways. I think it's more of a coincidence of convenience more than anything. You know what I mean?
I just thought I'd ask. It just occurred to me in my head.
Hey, look,
I can see why you would say that, though. For sure.
I've just got one thing to say to Officer Mooney. Like, look, man, fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Dude, that is the worst cop ever. He literally
I get his point. Like,
no, phones are blowing. He's sitting there smoking a cigar.
He's been through Korea, damn it. He's like, fuck it, I've been through worse.
If one person comes to you and says, "Hey, this is happening," 2, okay, you may need to start paying attention. Like 5, you definitely need to pay attention. Then when the entire town is on the phone, you go check. You don't sit there and get a slug of whiskey and go, "You're not kicking me out of the force." Like Mooney is the worst cop ever. There's no argument.
Yeah, being the dean of that college didn't work out for him, so the poor man's, he's got to resort to other means.
Well, let's move on and talk about Mooney and kind of the rest of the cast. I mean, a lot of these people didn't go on to do a whole lot of really big things. That actually wasn't the shot that I wanted, but it's the shot that I wanted. I was going to have the one that I put on here. Oh well, but I mean, the cast is kind of not. They've not gone on to do a lot of great things, except for one of the guys. I got to pull my notes up now. Where's my stuff? But let's see. John Vernon is the one who plays the sheriff. And he is known for being kind of a tough cop or lawman or cowboy in a lot of movies from the 60s all the way up till I think into the 90s. I mean, he had played. I know he was in. What was the name? One of the the first Dirty Harry movie. He was one of the cops that worked with Dirty Harry trying to take down the killer. I've seen him in a lot of westerns. I've seen him play cops in a lot of movies, stuff like that. He was actually in another classic comedy, Animal House. He actually played the dean. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this is a guy who kind of plays – he's kind of like Tom Cruise. He plays the same guy kind of every movie. He's that gruff, no-nonsense guy who, like Tech said, doesn't understand why the younger generation is so stupid. But yeah, I mean, he kind of is the only big-name actor in this movie. Grant Cramer's gone on to done some things. Actually, John Allen Nelson has actually gone on to do a lot of stuff. He was in a bunch of soap operas, Baywatch. He played in 24. He was in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, the comedy. He's gone on and done some stuff. But for the most part, Christopher Titus, this was actually his first movie. He's only in the movie for about 2 minutes at the beginning, so I don't know if I count that too much. Yeah. But yeah, John Vernon is really the biggest name that was in this movie or came out of this movie. The rest of them they were all kind of B-level players for a long time. I'll go to you first, Jeremy. I mean, let's talk about the cast. Is there anybody that kind of stands out to you?
I mean, obviously Mooney, because, I was going to start chanting Toga if you didn't stop chugging that Jack Daniels. So I thought about putting one back there, but, probably product placement and not sponsored. So, no, it's just a fun time watching him. It's like, everyone's all in on this joke. They're all a bunch of dumb kids in this whole town. Nope, not going to fall for that shit. I'm like, it's goofy because I'm like, yeah, it's going to bite you in the ass, dude, when a clown actually walks in to your PlayStation. But, and quite literally makes a dummy of you. But, yeah, and I already forgot what Dave. They got the other guy, the younger cop there.
Dave, yeah.
He was pretty cool. He was fun. He was kind of like it's nice to see him opposite of like the gruff, Mooney. He's like trying to be the one who's the voice of reason or trying to keep things in line and at least do things the right way, not just try to beat somebody over the head and toss him in a jail. And hey. Tries to be the hero at the end, and it all works out. I guess allegedly. We saw some pies at the end, so I don't know. Maybe it didn't work. You got to get. Also, can we give small shout out to that one midnight shift security guard? What are you doing with those pies, boys? The poor guy. He was trying to enjoy his sandwich, man. He kept that thing on him, and he was just trying to have his little lunch break. Nope. Killer Klowns. From outer space.
Well, Tex, how about you? I mean, what did you like the cast? Did it work for you, and who stood out for you?
Oh,
no,
yeah,
not the pizza girl. You can't say the pizza girl.
You mean Tracy can't be my favorite character? Well, then crap, I'm gonna have to read that. See, that's how big of a fan of hers I am. I actually know her name. See, you just said pizza girl. I knew her name. So who's really the jerk here? I just say it. But
I mean, she lasted about 3 seconds in the movie, but and didn't get her pizza.
No, obviously Dave. I mean, he goes the full arc here. He goes from, oh, you're a troublemaker, get out of here, I'm going to arrest you. To once he finally sees some proof, he's like, oh crap, we're under invasion. We got to handle this. Like he immediately goes into action. And one thing that impressed me about this film was they actually stick to, like, okay, when they're shooting guns in this movie, guns actually run out of ammo. They don't have typical. They don't have that typical trope of like, oh, I've got a shotgun that holds 5 rounds, but I'm going to shoot it 13 times. You know, he makes very good effort to, you know, when he's using the shotgun at the end or the pistol or whatever, they stick to that. But my other favorite character here has got to be Farmer Green at the beginning of the movie. I love a crazy old guy in a movie, whether it's Crazy Ralph from Friday the 13th or, you know, any of those types in a movie. You know, when, you know, he sees this thing coming from the sky, he thinks he's just won the lottery. He just made his day, and ultimately, you know, he gets the business end of it. But Farmer Green, you know, shout out to him. He doesn't get enough love, and, you know, if they ever make a Funko Pop of Farmer Green, I'll go buy one. So, you know, it is.
I have like a little mini of the dog next to him too.
Right, yeah. Oh yeah.
I did actually see, since I went to GameStop and was putting down some pre-orders. They had 2 of the clowns as pop figures for Killer Klowns. I don't remember which 2. It might have been like Shorty and maybe the Slim, maybe the tall one, I think.
Well, I know if you want Killer Klowns from outer space Funko Pops, the best place to get them is Hot Topic or Spirit Halloween. Every year, Spirit Halloween gets a exclusive of some kind from this franchise, and it's always different every year. And now, I mean, I don't really think you have to pre-order it from there, because every year at the end of October, going into November, there's like 20 of them sitting on the shelf, and they're like half price. So I wouldn't say pay full price right now unless you just really want it. But you know, if this is one of your favorite franchises, there's no limit to the marketing and the items you can purchase to celebrate it. So, yeah, I always enjoy that too.
Yeah, well, Cora, how about you? I mean, you may not be a big fan of the movie, but did the cast stand out to you, and who might have been your favorite?
I would have to say,
this one right here. Is that your guy?
guy, I don't remember his name, but the guy who was making out with the girl in the first place, that was running around with the cop, and, you know, you could tell he actually really cared. And
Mike?
Yeah, there was like emotion. He was very believable in his character. And
do you know what his last name is?
Huh?
Do you know what Mike's last name is?
The dumbest last name in all of movies.
It is.
The character's last name is Mike Tobacco. Who I don't know who came up with that.
Oh, not the cop, the other guy. The guy.
Yeah, the main character.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, the main character, Mike.
Yeah.
The guy wearing the sweater over the shirt.
Yeah.
His name is Mike Tobacco, like a cigarette. Yeah. So,
okay.
just a
I
fun
liked
fact.
him because his emotions were believable. It didn't seem like he was acting. No, it was very relatable. So, yeah. And
Yeah,
I would be like him. I'd be running around screaming, killer clowns, everybody go home and hide, whatever, you know. So,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm drawing down. I'm like, gunfight. Let's go.
No, I just want to blow him up with TNT or something. Fuck shooting him.
Yeah, just you got him in the nose. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But yeah, for me, the cast, I mean, look, you don't have to cast brilliantly for a movie like this because it's kind of so outlandish. But the cast does work pretty well together. And to be absolutely honest, there was a lot of people that, kind of, went on to some good things. I mean, we talked a lot about, obviously, John Vernon already being big. Christopher Titus, his first big movie role. You don't really recognize him. He's actually really, really young. He's a blonde guy with the glasses at the beginning of the movie. He ends up dying at some point off screen. But that's Christopher Titus.
I didn't recognize him.
Yeah,
I've seen this 15 times and I didn't know he was in it until I looked at this.
Grant Cramer is the guy who plays Mike Tobacco. He's actually gone on to he's done some acting. He's done a lot more behind the camera, producing and stuff like that of a lot of TV shows. Suzanne Snyder, who was the girl, she did a lot of stuff. I mean, she was in Chips, TJ Hooker. God, I love TJ Hooker. I need to try to find that to watch somewhere. She did some stuff, Family Ties, a lot of stuff in the 80s. She did some stuff in the early 90s, like in The Heat of the Night, a couple episodes of Seinfeld. But I mean, obviously big in the 80s. She had a small part in The Last Starfighter. She was in Weird Science. Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins. Great action movie that I wish they would have turned into a franchise. They just didn't do it. A couple of the horror movies. She was in Return of the Living Dead Part 2, The Night Before, with Keanu Reeves, one of his earlier films. Some other stuff. She was in the Femme Fatale. She was in, a bunch of different stuff. A lot of it I've never heard of. But I mean, she is still, actually, I guess she's not active anymore. But yeah, so she's been around. Her most recent acting credit was in 2010. But obviously, the person who's gone on to have the most success has been John Allen Nelson. He's been in, he played the role of Warren Lockridge on the soap opera Santa Barbara. I can't say I ever saw an episode of it, but hey, he was on it. He played on Baywatch as a character that ended up having to leave. The character ended up having to leave the show part of the way through the thing. He was on 24, which is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. He's also played on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which I know some people that have liked it. I didn't like it. I never.
That was a funny movie.
Yeah, but
know nothing about it. I've had a few, but never seen it.
Yeah, and some other stuff. He was in a couple of Baywatch spinoffs, did some episodes of CSI, Saving Grace, Burn Notice, that terrible Knight Rider reboot they tried to do in 2008 was just awful.
Oh yeah, that was.
He did some stuff on Castle. He's got a reoccurring role in the show Crisis. So I mean, that guy's been pretty successful. But again, he was pretty believable as the young hotshot cop that is kind of the antithesis, the opposite of John Vernon's character of Officer Moody. So yeah, he was pretty good. But I mean, the cast, it's really all about the clowns, really. I mean, the cast is just there to spit out the dialogue because you can't just have the clowns running around making noises. You have to have somebody say something, and that's all they had to do. You know what I mean? So yeah, the cast was pretty good. And again, John Vernon, you add some, like I said, at the time he had been around for a while. He was pretty well known as a character actor. So you add some talent in a guy like John Vernon, it kind of makes everybody else. It makes everybody else look a little better. You know what I mean? And the guy that played the farmer in the beginning was Royal Dana, who was very famous for
Royal Dana.
Royal Dana. Yeah, he was in all kinds of Gunsmoke. He was in all kinds of westerns. I mean, Hawaii Five-0. He was in Father Knows Best. He was in all kinds of stuff. I mean, Huck Finn. I mean, I'm looking at his stuff right now, and it's just a long, long list of all kinds of crazy shit. But yeah, that guy was around for a long, long time. He actually passed away in 1994. But yeah, he was a long time TV and movie character actor. But yeah, I mean, I can't knock any of the cast. The one that stands out to me is obviously kind of John Vernon's character. He, of all the people that have dialogue anyway, because he's kind of that typical. He's the old man that I am slowly becoming day after day. So, I mean, maybe I relate to him a little bit differently now than I did when I first saw this movie when I was, say, 11 years old. But, he's a fun character. He gives the character some dimension, too. Or gives the whole movie a little bit of dimension, too. It's not just a bunch of young kids that are dealing with these clowns. It's like this older guy who's a little more jaded. So he gives the film a different dimension. But let's talk, obviously, about one of the important parts of this film. Let's talk about the effects. And I'll go to you first, Tex. I mean, to you, do the effects hold up? I mean, granted, it was low budget. It was late 80s. not a lot of CGI was even really available at the time. I mean, it was in its infancy at this point, if that. I mean, do they hold up to you, or do they look kind of dated?
This film, once again, we just talked about RoboCop, and I said how the effects not looking perfectly kind of give it a bit of charm. This film does that, but even more. I mean, when you watch RoboCop, you're taking it seriously. But when you watch something like this, or like I compared, Tuesday, Evil Dead 2, that came out a year before, it's kind of bonkers, off the wall, kind of like, Pee Wee's Playhouse with large Marge's face. It takes you out of this world, and that's what a good effect does. Even if it's not executed perfectly, where everything is exactly as it should be and there's no flaws, sometimes the flaws give it the best characteristics that it can. I mean, like that scene right there where, oh, what are you going to do? Knock my block off, and then pow, head in the trash can. That, out of all the kills in this movie, that's my favorite kill, just because it's so zany. Yes, if you pause on the head when it hits into the trash can, you can see it's not the greatest. It's probably paper mache with latex over it or something. But while you're watching it live time, the effects work. With the cotton candy gun, the popcorn, whatever. It all works for what the story needs it to be, and ultimately, that's all that really matters. Is you can't compare the effects of this to Batman versus Superman or something. This will lose every time. But you have to look within the context of what this is. This is a 1988 low budget B movie. I mean, let's be honest. This wasn't top of the list for anybody. So I think they did well. I think the Chiodo Brothers did amazing with the effects of this film. I have no complaints whatsoever.
Yeah, how about you, Jeremy? Do the effects hold up to you, being somebody who kind of does this a lot? Is this something that you look at on and you can still be impressed on even 30-some years later?
Yeah, and I can appreciate it more because, again, it was just low budget. It's all these guys were all just doing everything in this movie, and to make something as good as it still turned out. I mean, again, even for the time, there's things like Tex said, like, yeah, it's a fake head, but like, you kind of don't care, and that is part of the charm. Like, they did so well on like that group shot, it like with all the clowns, and like even that with the gun that just does whatever the plot wants it to do, which is, again, that's just the fun part of it. Like, you don't really care what's happening because it's just off the wall, so you can kind of forgive it for what it is. But you can tell, like I said, they put a lot of work into making the clowns look scary but also unique, and making them look kind of, like I said, like he's a kind of dingy and kind of, like they crawled out of some hole in the ground, which, I mean, I guess they kind of did. So after they fell from space. So, and I can appreciate, like, I always make fun of the fact that Alfred Hitchcock made The Birds in like the 60s. And that shit looks so much better than something like Birdemic, which came out in like 2010. And I'm like, come on, guys. He made a movie that looks so much more convincing with birds attacking you than you made with these god-awful computer renditions of birds that are, I guess, supposed to be attacking people or just hovering in midair, whatever the hell that was. And since recently watching Saw 5, I was going to say that body shot right there where Shorty knocks the dude's head right off his shoulders. I'm like, that was a more convincing body, like flop. That was a more convincing fall than I saw in Saw 5 when the girl gets her head chopped off, and it's like, it's almost just dumb how her body and then her head just pauses for a second and then like comically kind of rolls forward in a different speed in her body.
Actually,
I don't know.
Now that you say that, go back to when What's-Her-Face is in that orb at the end of the movie. Like, and the cop's like, hang on, let me shoot it real quick. And then, like, she's like 4 feet off the ground. Like, she's way up here. And then he shoots, and then she's automatically here. Like, they just jump cut really quick. Maybe that one effect is, if I had to criticize anything, that would be the one that really doesn't work, because obviously they just, said, okay, we're going to suspend you in this and then bump you back down. I think that'd be the only one. Do you think? I mean, yay or nay on
I mean,
that.
like we're in a situation. I mean, you're kind of just like, okay, yeah, well, let's go, get out. We came here to save her. Let's go.
Right.
And we're also talking about clowns from outer space. So I don't know.
Right.
I mean, even like the clown that's like riding on the little invisible motorcycle next to the dude. It's like that's a pretty funny effect because it looks like he's just riding on like nothing but like it's at night, but like you can kind of tell he's riding on something. But I'm like, I don't care. It's just funny to watch this guy like in a drag race with this fucking clown like hovering midair. So
why is everything else invisible, but you can see the cases of the headlights? That always bothered me. Why did you design it that way? That makes no sense whatsoever.
I thought that too. I was like, is it supposed to be like the bottom of his shoes? Maybe like it was just funny that his shoes were just big clown shoes with the lights.
It looked like it was the actual like backing the housing that the lights sit in, like you're riding on Wonder Woman's airplane, right? Except you can see the engine. It's like the one thing, like the one part they didn't make.
That's fair.
It's like I don't know why they didn't do that, but I guess I don't know.
Like I said, I know he's riding on something.
Right? Yeah. No, you can see it.
Well, Cora, how about you? I know you weren't a big fan of the movie overall, but were you at least impressed by some of the special effects?
I was impressed with the visual representation and also.
He's waving at you right now, Cora.
Even just the outside of the tent, it was pretty good. I mean, they really put a lot of effort into this. So, I mean, I respect the craft, and like even just how they shot things, like perspective of things. A lot of work went into this. I get it. I mean, I can imagine all the storyboards that went into every scene of this movie. So I appreciate the craft and the planning that went in this, and visually it was I didn't watch this movie and think this is chintzy, this is so crap, this is definitely made in the 80s. I mean, it held up, better than a lot of other 80s movies, I'll be honest. So,
it's got a charm to it.
Yeah,
that's what makes it special.
Maybe that's the word. Yeah. I'll say that.
Yeah, I honestly, as I was watching this, yesterday I was thinking to myself, I was like, I always felt like this movie came from earlier in the 80s. Like, because I feel like in 88, there was other movies that were even lower budget movies that were kind of doing even practical stuff a little cleaner. So it's like this movie feels like as you're watching it, something from like 83 or 84 as opposed to 88. And I know I'm only talking about a 4 or 5 year difference here when it comes to the technology, that how fast it changed in Hollywood over the course of 4 or 5 years. That's a big jump, but still, I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. I mean, granted, like I said, I have this connection to the movie that a lot of people don't, but it still holds up pretty well to my mind. Look, the practical effects are always going to be the better way to go. I don't know if I had retweeted or not, but somebody had put up some pictures of some practical effects the other day, and then some pictures of some CGI monsters like ogres and stuff from different movies. And the practical stuff just looks better. It looks so much cleaner. It looks I mean, of course, more realistic, but I mean, it just looks more satisfying on my eyes than the CGI stuff does. That's why I'm disappointed. We talked about Rick Baker rather, and his deciding to go ahead and give up doing full-time special effects stuff because the movie industry is going away from practical effects, from the models, from the foam latex and all the stuff that he did. It's moving away from that into other things and more computerized stuff, and that's just not what he does, and it's sad. I really do feel like it's going to end up being one of the lost arts. You know what I mean? And hopefully, animation's making a bit of a comeback over the last 10 or 15 years. For a long time, a lot of it was just Pixar. There was a lot of computerized stuff. There wasn't a lot of people actually drawing on the cells anymore. And it's kind of making a bit of a comeback as the technology allows you to do it a bit more efficiently. Because for those of you who don't know, it takes a long, long time to make a 5-minute cartoon and a lot of work and a lot of people. But hopefully that will kind of find its way back as well. And because, like I said, these were such better villains. You know what I mean? There's look the shadow. You can't get those shadows just right,
lighting,
like you do right there. Yeah, unless you have the right lighting, you can't get that on CGI. You can't get that with some computer shit. It's got to be something that you have to have, like Jeremy said, the lighting. You have to have the angles. You have to have the model put together just the right way. It has to be kind of perfect for that to work. So yeah, and then of course, this is one of the most famous scenes in the movie. Again, it's one of those scenes where it's like, I don't care how it worked. It's just a shadow puppet. God damn, that's cool as shit. But yeah,
it's getting funnier every time I watch it.
I know, damn it. But yeah, I can't knock the practical effects. And I've said it 100 times. Low budget and horror tend to go very, very well together. You get some of the best horror films ever if you keep the budget down and concentrate on story and just make it kind of dark. Because when you make a dark film, if you make it a dark film, you don't have to have the perfect edges on a bad guy or whatever. Those little flaws actually accentuate the character and can make him look a little more vile, a little more evil. And that's why I'm like, keep the practical stuff in there as much as you can. And on top of that, it's got to be cheaper than doing some of the CGI stuff. I mean, because how much time and effort is put into 30 seconds of a shot for something like a Marvel or DC film or a Star Wars film or something that's really special effects heavy? When you can just shoot it practically with some lights and a couple of good camera angles, you can mess a little bit of the lighting in post. But other than that, it doesn't take that much. It's probably so much cheaper, to my estimation. I don't know, am I wrong, Jeremy? You're kind of an expert on this stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's one thing that does always stand to me that bugs the shit out of me about especially horror movies, or even I think recently it was in Secret Invasion. If we're talking about Marvel. It's like CGI blood. I'm like, why do you bother? It's literally, it's the easiest thing to do. And honestly, it fixes everything. Trust me, you can never have too much blood. I mean, you can, that's kind of your little patch up job. That's your post. You fix it in post. All right. You fucking just cover everything in blood because honestly, it's going to look awesome. Cause that's seeing something for real is better than it's just like, what it should look like that. Like you saw that in the fucking dark, you'd shit yourself. Cause it's like you could imagine if you saw that, it's like, oh dear fucking God. But I don't know. It's hard to do, I guess in both respects, doing something practical like that, but also trying to do that in CGI is actually probably pretty difficult if you don't do it right. But yes, there's something more. It's just better when you see something physical and real that you can be like, oh yeah, that's a real thing. You can kind of dismiss it in your brain that to this point now, where so much stuff we see is CG. You can be like, yeah, that's not real. But
and one of the things I like about this shot is the lighting really does kind of tell the whole story. You've got the street light coming from one side, and then the left side. And this picture doesn't know justice from seeing it in the movie, but you see the flames that are emanating from the car that he just crashed, lighting the other side. So you see that flickering flame lighting. It's kind of in and out, and it makes even that cartoonish kind of looking monster clown look that much more terrifying. If I just showed you this picture and gave you no other indication of what the movie was about, you'd be like, that movie's probably some scary shit about a lot of blood and a lot of people getting their shit ripped up by these clowns, not knowing that it's all kind of a comical farce. But I mean, that's a terrifying looking shot right there. But
and that's the thing about where I work. It's the one thing that I'll never forget is actually the guy who runs the place now. He was like, look, I have this full headed, it's an old man mask. He's like, it just looks kind of goofy. He's like, it's just a mask of an old man, balding, kind of wispy white hair and little moon frame glasses and shit. He's like, but if I put that in the dark, or I put that to a strobe light, that shit is terrifying. I'm like, right. You got to think of it in a context of I've seen stuff and I imagine okay, but lighting wise, I'm like, I'll flip off the lights and kind of look at myself because I'm like, well, I'm in the dark and I got to look at, how it sits, and then it's that'll make a world of difference. It'll come together when you add the other elements to it, and that's what really sells it.
Well, the perfect example of that. Go back and watch any of the Halloween films with Michael Myers where he's actually wearing a real mask. Then go watch, I think it's Halloween Resurrection where they do the CGI mask, and it looks it's like so bad. What am I looking at right now? It's like this is like because everything else is real, but there's not to mention there's 6 or 7 different versions of the mask in that one movie alone. But when they do the CGI, it doesn't feel real. When you look at the clowns in this movie, you can see the texture of their skin. And when they open their mouth, you can see the wetness of their gums, and they're all grimy, and their teeth are nasty. You know, it's got different textures and stuff to it. Whereas if you look at CGI, it's too perfect. You know, it doesn't work.
That picture right there. This is also hilarious because I'm like, that picture right there, and I'm like, look, this is before we had the 2016 like fucking stupid people standing out in the woods as clowns. So I'm like, that shit right there is some real shit now. I'm like, then this movie, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I mean, if you saw some big clown sitting outside your burger joint and he's just beckoning to the kid, I like how every person's just like, oh, it's a clown, he's happy. I'm like, even if it was a normal clown, no, but you don't see what this clown looks like. But also, I'm like, I don't know. If you're looking at me like that, that is the quickest way to get yourself shot. Like, I'm not messing with you.
I love clowns.
No.
I don't understand why clowns are scary. I've always loved them.
They've never inherently.
I think they're creepy. I don't know about scary, but like
they're creepy and scary.
I've never even found them creepy. I'm like, these are people I want to hang out with. I understand these people.
Texas fucking Captain Spaulding. He's like, "What's the matter, kid? Don't you like clowns?"
Oh, Captain Spaulding is my hero.
I love Captain Spaulding.
Okay, if you tell me, hey Tex, you can open up a gas station with fried chicken, which is delicious, and horrific things all inside of your store, where do I sign up? And a murder ride?
Yeah.
I'm never going to retire. I'm going to die there, you know?
Yeah, I never understood. I don't even know when clowns went from just somebody you saw at a circus to like suddenly. Now, I'm sure there's probably always been this segment of people that I forget. So somebody can look this up for me real quick and let me know in the chat what the phobia of clowns is. It's called clowophobia or something like that. I forget what it's called. Something starts with a C. But I'm sure it's always existed because there's a phobia for everything. And as obscure as it may be, somebody's got it or else it wouldn't have a name. But I don't know at what point that kind of happened because it's like, I mean, yeah, clowns have always been kind of part of horror. I mean, for the longest time, even back in like the 70s, there was some clown-based stuff. But I feel like it was after like John Wayne Gacy and all that stuff went down that all of a sudden clowns started to become kind of persona non grata. And it's like, I've always just thought of them as something that were at circuses and shit like that, or that you hired for a kid's birthday party. I mean, I've never thought of them as anything scary. It just one day it seemed like everybody was afraid of clowns. I don't understand how that started.
I'm just telling you, when I was a kid, they creeped me out. Can't tell you why.
I don't know what. I guess I come from a different species because I see all this stuff that y'all say is spooky and scary. I'm like, that's my best friend over there. What are you talking about? I don't find him intimidating whatsoever.
See, in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface is a victim.
I'm not sure. Right.
It's a home invasion movie, damn it.
Yeah.
It is.
But Tex, I mean, there were a couple of shots that were very horror based in this movie. I mean, it is a comedy. One of the ones, and that's why I grabbed this one, that's a really kind of cool horror shot. I mean, the guy slowly marching towards the town. I mean, you very easily could have put like Haddonfield 5 miles and had Michael Myers walking down the ground, walking away from the camera. That was a very cool shot. Another one also was this one right here. The guy is thrown off the car, then the other clown kind of walks into picture and then turns towards the other clown as he does his Undertaker impression, just pops right up from the ground, and then they all go to do work. But there were a couple of pretty cool horror shots. Was there one that stood out to you as being a really cool, like straight up horror shot?
I think my favorite horror, well, I have two. I have the one where the little clown knocks the guy's head off. That little chuckle that he does, it's like the kind of, it's like, that's creepy. I like that. Like just the way that they move, they make the mask work and everything else. But the best horror shot in this film is when Dave, the officer, at the end of the film is going back to the police station and he's seen everything that's gone on. And that clown is sitting in the desk chair and just turns around. And it's like I'm like, you could put Michael Myers in that chair and it works. That is that is a essential 80s horror shot right there. Because you've got your good guy here trying to take down, this invading army or whatever. And this clown, he's waiting on this guy. He knows he's there. He could turn around at any point in time and kill him without him even realizing it. But he's waiting for it. He's letting it build up. And I mean, I love that shot in the film. It's probably the best one.
Yeah, really mysterious. Look this up in the chat. I know I'm probably going to butcher this pronunciation. Coulrophobia. Coulrophobia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's yeah, exactly. That's the fear of clowns for those of you who are wondering. So thanks, RM, for looking that one up. Appreciate it. But yeah, there were a couple of really great shots. I mean, Jeremy, you being a horror aficionado yourself, was there one that kind of jumped out at you as something that was kind of a straight up horror shot? Not necessarily bloody or a kill of some kind, but I mean, just something that has a very cool horror vibe to it.
Yeah, other than like what Tex said, like that clown sitting in the, I mean, honestly, even when he turns around and he's got Mooney just like as a puppet, he just yanks his bloody hand out of his back. I was like, oh shit, it got real again. Like, yeah, that's some terrifying horror movie stuff. I saw that and I was like, wait a minute, there's my outfit. I got it. No, I was. I think I saw this earlier. You have a shot of it. I would say when they're inside the tent and you see that massive clown, that big like alligator-looking thing,
Clownzilla or whatever he's called.
Yeah, like big marionette thing, just like coming out of the fucking ceiling, and like even when all the other clowns, like they all kind of back up, like, oh, here he comes. Like just seeing him descend from the ceiling, I was like, oh, okay, oh, it's getting real. And there's your size comparison to the ice cream truck with how big this guy is. It's like, that's also, if you thought these clowns were bad enough, now you got this like 40-foot alligator clown that's gonna toss your ice cream truck around like it was a toy.
Right.
So I'd say that like that, because you're all like looking up at the ceiling like, what the hell is that? And it just slowly comes down.
In the Mario universe.
Yeah, that works.
I think he's cooler than King Koopa. That's just me.
Yeah, I don't think all Mario would have to do is just pop his nose.
Yeah, let's talk about these sequels for a second, or potential sequels. I mean, I'll go to you first, Jeremy. Do you think the sequel's ever going to happen? I mean, I know I've heard stuff really since this film came out back in 1988 about the potential for it. I've heard a lot of things that have kind of come and gone. That's kind of the way it works in Hollywood. They'll announce a project that is in pre-production, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. A lot of stuff that goes on. I mean, do you think we're ever going to see anything else from this franchise, be it a sequel or even a Saturday morning cartoon?
I think, yeah, we've heard just about everything under the sun, and unfortunately, like this is kind of all we have right now is this first movie. I think they said they were planning, like they wanted to make like 2 or 3 more sequels even. I think there have been talks about like a show, and I'm like, yeah, this or a series like this. Honestly, this could make a fun little short like horror series or something. Or if you wanted to make a few more sequels, because I mean, yeah, you can kind of just take it for a one-off movie, and it's like, oh, haha, they got the last laugh because they threw pies at your face, even though you blew up their big top allegedly. But I mean, hey, they Indiana Jones that shit before they even did it. They didn't nuke the fridge, they nuked the truck, and they hid in the freezer, and they survived somehow. And somehow Dave got in the clown car, but whatever, semantics. Clown magic. Outer space clown magic. I don't know. And I mean, more recently now, the only thing that we have is the video game. So that's kind of really our only other thing, unfortunately. And honestly, I'm looking at the background. I'm like, if it's just like you and a couple friends or you and some NPCs, I don't know, you're running around like a little small town that's invaded by these clowns and whatnot. I can see that being kind of fun, like maybe almost like a survival horror.
It's got to be an open world, though.
Yeah, I'm like, explore the town, right? Like, just let people loose and let them try to survive the night or something. I don't know. It could be an interesting game. That's our only hope right now is the video game.
Yeah, Tex, how about you? I mean, do you think we're ever going to see this? I mean, other than the video game, which we know is coming at some point. I mean, do you see us getting anything else on screen about this? Either a movie or a TV show or anything?
Well, considering Hollywood is quickly running out of ideas and they're doing things 2 to 3 times over and over again, I think it's only a matter of time before we get to something like this. And considering the video game, if that does well, you know that they're gonna Blumhouse is gonna sweep in. Oh, we're doing a direct sequel, just like we've done for Halloween, Exorcist, and 15 other things that we're gonna ruin. Yep. So I could see Blumhouse stepping in to pick up something like this. If one is made, make it more adult, because you can have a lot of fun with this franchise. They went very safe with this one. They went very, I wouldn't say PG, but it's barely PG-13 in my opinion. I want to see more, give me more gruesome, give me more gore in it, because you can play with these clowns and these kills and get some fun stuff that you can't get out of a Jason Voorhees or anybody else. So make it more gritty. Give it to somebody like Eli Roth, maybe even Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright could make a fun movie about this. Give it to a Rob Zombie. There's a bunch of horror directors that can get nasty. Give it to even Del Toro, somebody like that. But make it keep the childish charm to it, but make it adult. Make this like as if Captain Spaulding had control of the earth. These are his clowns. Turn them loose. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would do.
Do you want like Art the Clown type of, or do you want like
no? You
maybe
can't
a little
go
bit
quite
less.
Art the Clown. Yeah,
I'm like, that's a little intense.
No, I'm not saying crank it up to 10 and break the knob off, but like 8.5.
He broke her in half is what he did.
Right, but there's room here to. They left money on the table with this, and not just like money budget wise, but what they could have done within this film. I would, like I said, I'd ratchet it up a few notches if I were doing it, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think that I would love to see if they were to do a sequel or a remake or whatever you want to call it, because I know that the word requel has been thrown around for this project a lot over the last 10 or 15 years as well. I would like to see them lean a bit more, well, really a lot more to the horror. I've said it before, the horror comedy thing is good. And I think they leaned a lot more to the comedy in this in the late 80s because that's what was popular then. There was a lot of horror comedies that were coming out in the 80s. I mean, sure, you had your other stuff. I mean, you had like Nightmare on Elm Street in its prime, Friday the 13th was going strong, things like that. But there were a lot of horror comedies that were trying to appeal to the people who wanted to see a little bit of blood, but they wanted to see it more of a funny aspect. So I can understand why they did that with this film. But I've said it before. I think the horror comedy is best when it's about 60 or so, maybe 70% horror and about 30 or 40% comedy. I want the horror to be a little bit more of the recipe, but not quite all of it. I think that's kind of where it works out best for me. And I think some of the best horrors have had elements of comedy. I mean, one of the Friday the 13th movies, I forget which one. The Evil Dead is one. Yeah. One of the Friday the 13th. Third one or the fourth one. I think that one leaned a little bit heavier into the comedy than it had at that point. I remember some guy running around the woods. It's been a while since I've watched that deep into the franchise. But there was one goofy guy walking in the woods. They were paintballing or something like that. And there was like goofy music.
That's part 6.
Is that part 6? I know it was on down the line. It was deeper into the thing. But I mean.
That's either 6 or it's 7. It's one of those two because that's the opening of the movie.
Yeah, but they even leaned into that a little bit in the last part of it. And you could say maybe that's kind of where the franchise has started to kind of jump the shark a little bit. But it needs to be more horror. I want to see more of the visuals. I still want to see some good character work, but I want to see more of that visual stuff. I want to see some better kills. I would have liked to have seen what that being in that cotton candy cocoon actually does. So maybe like, instead of just like seeing them poke a straw into it, rip it open and see the guy's bloody face, you actually see a body that's being digested. If they open one of those things up, like they got to rip it open and a body that's half digested falls out. I mean, they kind of did it with that scene with the guy that where's it at? I have it on here somewhere. Oh, damn, I can't see. There it is. That you kind of see it a little bit when you get a close up of this. They pull up to start to look at it to see the guy's kind of melted skeletalized hand and forearm kind of sticking out of the ice cream stuff. I want to see more of that. I want to see either more good kills or kind of the aftermath of the kills at least. But that's what I'd like to see. Look, Hollywood's on a thing right now where they're kind of going back to the well a little bit. They're like, okay, let's take some of these older properties and see if we can give them a new dimension now, give them some decent writing now, hit them with the things that maybe we didn't have available to us back in 1980 or whatever when this came out, or 1990 whatever, 1970 whatever. Yeah. Hit them with the modern paintbrush instead of the paintbrush from 30 or 40 years ago, and see if you can give it a different dimension. Give it a little something else, something that will make it from decent, which is what this film is really. I mean, I love it, but I mean, most people think of it as a decent film. Turn it into something great. Give it that extra little something, that one ingredient that maybe didn't have in 1988. But that's kind of what I want to see. I'm really tempted to try to get the video game. I know I don't buy a lot of video games anymore. I mean, I play the couple that I play for shits and giggles, just as time wasters. But I'm really tempted to go after this game just because. I feel like
it'd be a good game for Steam, Frank. And also, wouldn't it be hilarious if they tied it with a TikTok account where they filmed a bunch of funny videos of the clowns in makeup, doing like stupid dances and trying to hype up the movie itself and the video game, having them do those whatever popular dances like that Wednesday
Fortnite
dance.
Yeah, Killer Clown is a skin in Fortnite. I'd pay for that.
Yeah.
I don't buy a lot of skins in Fortnite, but I'd pay for it just to have it. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential to a remake here. I would rather see it in movie form. I think you could do more with it than to see it in the series. I feel like it's probably built for the big screen, or at least for a theatrical thing.
One thing I would love to see is the clown's homeworld, even if it's for 5 minutes. I want to see where they come from.
That'd be fun.
That's like whether it's a series, movie, whatever.
It gives me a world, like a whole world of a circus. It's like there's circus tents.
Right. Show me the planet that they come from. It's like a giant big top circus on the whole planet. Like that would be incredible to see. You've got all of those shit tents in the background, in this world, and all of the interesting designs of clown stuff that they could come up with. That's kind of it's human enough for us to recognize, but it's obviously alien. So I think that's something. If they're going to remake, that's something we need to see. Where do these people come from? Like, I think it's essential.
Yeah, and Jeremy, you being the video game expert, I mean, what are you expecting from the video game? I mean, I don't really know much about. I haven't read much about it. I mean, is it going to be more open world? Is it going to be mission based? Is it going to be is it going to be a lot of horror, kind of like what we had gotten from some things like Resident Evil and like the Friday the 13th and some of the other horror-based games? Or is it going to be basically kind of cartoonish?
Well, I mean, I'd expect it to be a little cartoony because, it's probably got to be pretty fun. I'm thinking something kind of like Destroy All Humans, if anyone knows that game, which they, I think, remade recently as well. But I don't remember. Like I said, I think I saw that when I was searching for this on YouTube, the announcement thing came up and it was like 11 months ago. I was like, I don't remember a year ago seeing. I'm like, I know I saw it, but I think what I would want, like Tech said, I'm like, even if it's like a small town, make it like you can very easily make. If you can make an entire city pretty seamless, like you do in GTA 5, you could very easily make a small town in anywhere USA. And just put clowns everywhere. Make it I mean, you can almost do it like a Call of Duty Zombies. Like it's just waves of clowns, and you're trying to survive the night or something. That's almost kind of like Dead by Daylight or Five Nights at Freddy's. You're trying to survive for an amount of time with these clowns that are I mean, because that's the thing is, if you're trying to fight the clowns, they got a whole arsenal of ridiculous shit they can kill you with. That could be fun. Or if it's like a versus, if you can play as the clowns versus like other people. As the humans.
Oh, I'm sure you're going to just like in the Friday the 13th game that came out and the Texas Chainsaw game that came out today.
Tomorrow.
If you can't play as the killer, you don't just want to be the survivor girl or the survivor guy. You want to be the bad guy. That's why you're buying it.
I mean, I always tried to prefer queuing as Jason in the Friday the 13th game, but I was usually always a survivor. But I didn't mind it because I was like, I am a whore for stealth characters, and I'm like, you're not finding me. I'm in a corner somewhere, and I'm gonna book it to the damn bridge where the cops are. You're never gonna find. You never even know I was there. I don't care how good your Jason build is. You're not.
Well,
finding me.
actually, you know, if they wanted to in this game, this would be the perfect way to expand the lore of this film if they were going to do a sequel to this movie. So you can make. You don't even necessarily have to say this game is a tie-in. People already, you know, it's got the same name. They know it's the same thing. But you can just add in a whole bunch of stuff, and then, you know, maybe you bring in the producers of the show or the movie that they're trying to do. Be like, hey, well, what are you looking at doing in your movie or TV show that we can work into this? So 2 years from now, when your thing comes out, you can go back and say, "We'll go back and play this game."
Yeah.
Here's the clown's home planet. Here's how this weapon came about. Whatever it is, you can world build here in a very big way. You know what I mean?
I know those clowns are going to have one weak spot. It's going to be their nose. So I'm like looking at the characters down there. I'm like, some of you got bats. I'm like, you better not miss. Some of them have guns. I mean, that's
well.
So I wonder like how the hierarchy of the weapons are going to work.
Did y'all ever see that Predator movie that came out a couple of years ago that had the guy from Key and Peele in it? Do y'all remember that?
Oh, the Predators.
Is it Predators?
Predators. I don't remember what it was, but it had the bald guy from Key and Peele in it. That movie is basically this one, because you think you have your Predators running around, and all of a sudden the gigantic one pops up, just like in this movie. Well, that's the one thing that popped in my head when I rewatched this. I was like, wait a minute. That Predator, Shane Black must have just watched Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Because it's basically the same.
Always a bigger fan.
And I think it would be very funny, since the clown's weakness is the nose, right? If they had some sort of Predator-type hood they wore over their face. So it's not as easy of a kill, because that's another thing. If you're doing a sequel, you can't just kill them the same way. That's boring. That's no fun. You have to do it differently. So maybe they do something different. I don't know, but you know, that's what they get paid the big bucks to write the script for. I'm not doing their work for free. So.
I think Alien vs. Predator 2 was the last one I actually saw. So a long time ago.
MVP 2, that one.
It's not great. I couldn't take it seriously. I don't know.
I've seen all of them.
It's not good. Like
Prey,
the first one's good.
Prey, the one that just came out, I crapped on it initially, but I gave it a rewatch. It's not as bad as I ranked it the first time. It's still not good. I didn't really enjoy the movie, but it's not as bad as I said it was either. So I've kind of softened my stance on it some, but it is what it is. So.
Yeah, there's actually a Predator game that came out recently-ish too, about a year or two ago. It's kind of the same deal. Like one guy's the killer, like the Predator, and then the rest of you are like the commandos that are trying to survive and, you know, get to the chopper, as it were.
Right.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool game.
But
right.
But I'll remind you guys real quick, I actually just now put the poll up in the chat. Let us know what you guys think. Did you like Killer Klowns from Outer Space? Again, a very obscure movie. Maybe a lot of people probably haven't seen it. It is a movie that kind of did, I mean, despite the fact I think it was always out there in consciousness, was kind of lost for a time, but it's hit a little bit of a resurgence the last 10 or 15 years. So if you've seen it, let me know. Do you like it? Again, this movie is free to watch on Tubi. Where else did we say it was? On YouTube. It's also free to watch on YouTube.
I think it's also on Pluto as well.
Yes, and also, I mean, you could probably find a DVD copy of it for $5 if it's been at Walmart or probably on Amazon or something like that. So
I wouldn't mind having this one on DVD.
I've got it on Blu-ray. I actually watched it on Tubi because all my DVDs and stuff are still packed away. But after we move, I still figure out where I want to put all my DVDs. But yeah, I've got a Blu-ray copy of it, which is awesome. There's actually, I don't think there's a steelbook out, but I think there's a special edition that came out in 2016. And they had actually got I think two of the Chiodo Brothers together to do like a commentary, and they talked a lot about all kinds of shit. So I'd like to get a hold of a copy of that as well, because I think it'd be really interesting to kind of hear them kind of go over.
I would imagine if they released a steelbook Blu-ray, I would almost bet that Arrow Video probably put it out, because they put out a bunch of those old 80s classics like that on Blu-ray and whatever, and they do the collector editions. So I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, but let's get into a little bit of trivia now. And I was really, really disappointed at the fact that there was not a lot of trivia for this movie. I mean, granted, it's kind of a basic film. There wasn't a whole lot to it. It wasn't a production that took 8 and 9 months. They filmed it over the course of like, I think, 4 weeks. there wasn't a whole lot to it. And it was at a time where filmmaking in and of itself was kind of I don't want to say easy, but it was a pretty basic thing. So I know, so maybe I shouldn't be overly surprised, but let's get into a little bit of the trivia now. The popcorn gun used in the film. I clicked the wrong picture. Where's my picture of the popcorn gun?
I was like, that's the straw.
That's the straw. I want the gun, damn it. I want the gun before I spit this one out. Where'd the gun go? I pulled so many pictures for this video.
I mean, I do want that straw.
There it is, right there.
There it is, the popcorn
That's right,
gun.
it's pretty dope. But the popcorn gun used by the clowns in the film, which included a compressor that would allow the weapon to actually propel the popcorn, was the most expensive prop made for the production, costing $7,000 to create and taking 6 weeks to build.
Holy shit. You're talking like 80s money? Because that's still pretty expensive. Woo!
I can go to Home Depot and by the morning I will have a working potato gun for about $300.
Yeah, but Home Depot didn't exist then, did it?
Okay, no, okay.
I don't know.
Home Depot may or may not have, but my point is they had hardware stores where you could buy PVC and hose to attach and what. I don't know why it cost that much and took that long when
there's a bunch of other crap on it.
In a afternoon. Okay, well, I'll go buy spray paint and I'll make it look cool, whatever. But that's crazy.
$7,000 in 1988 is apparently about $18,000 now. So yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Whew. Glad it worked. That is a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for a prop. Well, I mean, it's probably not a lot of money for a prop by today's standards.
Nice
God knows how many millions of dollars they spent on some props for some other movies, but I mean, still, that's a lot. You know what I mean? Let's see. Most of the vehicles that were used in the film were rented. Let me go to the one that was really tore up. Yeah. Were rented, and therefore we're not allowed to be.
It's a rental.
Yeah, and therefore we're not allowed to be damaged. 2 cars were accidentally damaged. One was driven off a bridge. We saw that. You see that one in the movie. Right. Although it was only intended to roll a short distance, and the Jeep filled with webbing needed $3,000 repairs after solvent in the webbing damaged the interior.
I was kind of wondering about that. I'm like, I don't know what that crap is, but it's probably not good for the car.
The ice cream truck at the end of the movie that's just completely demolished. How does that not count as a damaged vehicle?
I would imagine that might have been a prop that was built.
What?
The ice cream truck
when he that's definitely a miniature. You can tell.
Yeah, because that's actually one of the Chiodo Brothers.
Yeah,
like that's a dude in a suit. Like that's the forced perspective. I was like, oh, that's definitely a prop. That's still cool.
Yeah, so that's a guy in a suit. So they actually obviously built something a little smaller for a prop for him to throw it around. But
let's see. Let's see, the cop car, he almost runs into the wall and then he crashes it into the back of the ice cream truck. But you never see it actually crash. You just hear bang. So they obviously just put a sound effect in or whatever. Yeah, that makes sense. It checks out.
Let's see, another little piece of trivia. The movie, let me bring this picture up. The movie originally ended with the Terenzi brothers as the survivors of the exploding spaceship. While Dave perished after killing the giant clown.
Yeah.
Let's see. But since the executives needed an upbeat ending, the Chiodo Brothers filmed a second ending that is in all the versions where Dave and the Terenzi brothers survived the exploding spaceship by surviving in the clown car, by climbing in the clown car and apparently dropping what I'm sure was probably about 600 or 700 feet, if not 1,000 feet, in that clown car and not dying for reasons that I don't fully understand.
He got in the ice cream freezer. He was fine.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy, if you think about it, they did nuke the fridge. This was that nuke the fridge moment.
I know. Yeah,
they were an exploding spaceship 1,000 feet in the air, and somehow they jumped in the freezer and survived that 1,000-foot fall from an exploding spaceship.
Here's the question, though.
I'm not a smart man, but physics is telling me something else. I'm just saying.
Obviously there's a there is a love triangle here because what's her face was with Mike, but now she's with Dave, the cop, right? But she kisses Mike earlier in the film whenever they drop her off at the house or whatever, and then at the end of the film they all kind of like hug each other because they all survived. So if they do a sequel, do you like give us the end of that story, like who ended up with who got left out?
They become polyamorous. They share her.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, this is 2020.
Do they go to one of those?
Yeah, you have thruples.
Huh?
Thruples are a thing now.
Right, yeah.
Even
sometimes Mike and Dave do their thing, and they just get all weird with
something. He was like, I don't know why he's getting all feely with her. I guess they're cool now, or maybe they're going to be in a polyamorous relationship. I don't know.
I think they're just happy they're not dead. Because they just realized how
they still got pied.
Blew up
still
in
got
the air. Like, they don't have parents, they don't have neighbors, they don't have bosses anymore. Like, everybody's fucking dead.
True. That is kind of the whole town's basically dead now.
Yeah. Like, there is.
Well, that's the thing is.
But happy ending,
She kisses Mike, but then when Dave's still alive, she runs and jumps on him, so he's getting laid that night. Like, he's getting it all, buddy. It's all going to happen.
I did notice as I was watching it last night, it's like she seems pretty intent on the fact that she's dating Dave Marlboro or Tobacco, whatever the fuck his dumb last name is. And but at the end of the movie,
Marlboro Man, that's what we'll call it. We'll call him the Marlboro Man.
But when the car lands and he gets out, she finds out alive. I mean, I get going up and hugging him, and I get Mike going up and hugging him because they were all kind of involved in this thing together. But I noticed that as they were watching the thing explode, there's a moment where it's like the cop starts rubbing her shoulder and kissing the back of her head and stuff, and like Mike's just off here in La La Land watching the fireworks, and I'm like, so what's going on here? I was like, I mean, did he suddenly win her back? Because they never really and I'm kind of glad because I don't like it when movies are ruined by relationship shit. I mean, especially movies like this. I want the horror and the action and the comedy to be the start of the film. I don't want this relationship shit. But I was kind of wondering. I was like, so at some point did this switch or what? Because I don't really know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. She's with Dave, but she kisses Mike directly on the mouth before she goes to shower. I'm like, so wait a minute, are you just two-timing here? Like, are you a hoe? What's going on? I mean, there's some questions left unanswered here, So,
and you love how when she goes to the cop station, I know somebody. She doesn't say, my ex works there.
True.
She says, I know somebody. Right. And then he has the balls to say, you were up at the kissing point with him?
You're up at makeout.
Well, I do think I forget how the line goes exactly. Maybe y'all will know better. But when it's just Mike and Dave together and Dave has finally learned, this is actually real. He kind of like passive. Yeah, he kind of like passive aggressive. That I guess she chose something over stability.
Oh, she chose funny over stability. I'm like.
Funny over stability, yeah. So, and Mike's too stupid to realize he just insulted him, so he just keeps going.
Because even it's like he was trying to be cool. He's like, don't worry about it, man. It's not you, it's me. I mean, she chose funny over stability. I'm like,
did you just? Why she's with him?
It's like, did you just kind of backhand compliment him? I don't know. This is really
Yeah, also, and Jeremy touched on this already, Mooney's fate is foreshadowed early in the film when he said, nobody's going to make a dummy out of me. And, of course, the clown winds up making him a human dummy.
That sucks.
That is one of the coolest visuals, though, like when he pulls his hand out of his back where he apparently had a hold of his spine. I was just like, and I love how he just he pulls the hand out of the back, and then when he does,
he just like
this with bloody hand. He's just like,
yeah.
I was like, that's pretty fucking cool. That was a pretty cool horror shot. But obviously, oddly, despite its high level of violence and the amount of kills, this movie is surprisingly rated PG-13 and is more silly than scary. It's a surprise.
It was 1988.
It's the 80s.
And it's surprisingly appropriate for people 13 years or older. I don't
Yeah. You can show a teenager this, and they'll probably think it's funny.
Yeah. Honestly, this was my youngest son, Max. This was I let this be his introduction to horror movies because it was like he'll think it's funny, but he'll see the blood and maybe he'll get used to it. And this forever has been one of his favorite movies. It's like he loves it. He'll watch this movie all the damn time.
Well, at least your introduction to horror wasn't Cujo, kid. You're a lucky one.
And now he watches. I swear, you know what? You'll be happy to hear this text. He thinks that Terrifier is one of the funniest movies he's ever seen.
Oh, Terrifier is as fun. Terrifier is as funny as American Psycho is. Both of those films are absolutely gut busting laughs, and I can't watch those and not laugh.
Yeah,
Huey Lewis in the news.
Yeah, him and my every time I talk to like him or like my daughter will call me on the phone, I'm like, "What are you doing, kid?" She's like, "Oh, we're watching Terrifier." I'm like, "Again? You guys watch this movie like 3 times a week?" She goes, "Yeah,
Terrifier."
That's a hell of a movie.
One of the opening scenes of Terrifier 2, when Art is sitting in the laundromat and all of his clothes are in the deal, and he's seeing the psychic vision of the girl version of him, and he's just sitting there clapping, doing all this, and he's just silently laughing like maniacally. It's so hilarious. I love Art the Clown. He's a modern horror icon.
I think he's earned his place. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, Art the Clown will forever. He has surpassed Pennywise. I'll put him higher than Krueger. He's up there with Leatherface and Michael Myers for me. I love me some Art the Clown. I need more of it. I need all of it. So yeah, I love it.
Let's see. Another little piece of trivia. The $2 million budget went primarily on production costs. The clowns and the visual effects were created almost entirely by the filmmakers themselves at very little cost.
Jeez.
Well, they spent $7,000 on a toy gun, and you only had $1.8 million to play with, so it makes sense.
I want to know, what were the cotton candy things made out of? Was it like, I can't imagine it was like fiberglass or something, but like what was it?
It looks like insulation.
Yeah, I'm just like, I mean, I know it'd probably be a bitch to handle. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I know they got gloves on and shit and masks, but I was just kind of curious.
It may have just been like, I tell you, no, actually, that looks like it was like cotton that you buy to like stuff pillows and stuff.
Oh, is it like maybe like some like
that they just spray painted hot pink or something is what it looks like.
Yeah, you could put it on a mold of something. You could fill like a pillowcase itself or something, or a bag, and just put that on the outside and spray paint. I guess you're right.
Yeah, I don't say it looks like cotton, stuffing for a pillow or a comforter or whatever.
That's probably fair.
Yeah. Also, RM, our buddy Really Mysterious, is chiming in with a little bit of trivia of his own. He says, "Here's a fact that Frank doesn't have, and I don't have this one. 26% of the cast and crew of Killer Klowns were Capricorns."
Huh.
There you go.
See, the stars are just working against you. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Talk about obscure
facts. Let's get the tarot cards.
I love the obscure facts. That's really obscure. But yeah, I would never have known that. To be honest, I'm wondering how the hell you found that out. That's not the kind of thing they have on IMDb's trivia page.
Right.
Let's see. I mentioned earlier there are actually a lot of similarities between this film and The Blob. Let's see. In this movie, both have first victim who is an old geezer living in a cabin who has a dog. Tex talked about that earlier. Both movies have a decent cop named Dave who does not believe the young people, and a crabby older cop who seems to have a grudge against the young citizens. Additionally, the remake of The Blob came out in 1988, the same year as this film, same year as Killer Klowns.
Hey. You also got to admit, it's kind of funny when they come across the Jeep for the first time and they find the cotton candy stuff in there. And when Dave finally sees it and Mike goes up and he's like, "That's it. That's the stuff." I'm like, "That's not the stuff. That's not it, buddy."
We did that one about a month or two ago.
We did that like a month and a half ago. We've done that already.
That's something else, man. I kind of laughed at myself. I'm like, not the same.
Yeah, another thing I noticed about it, I don't know, because they handle the cotton candy at a couple of points. It doesn't do anything, but I'm not sure. The cotton candy seems to have acidic properties since it is shown several times dissolving the corpses inside. Yet when checking the prisoners' bodies, Dave is able to pull off barehanded with no damage to his skin. Also, when they're looking in the car, they're pulling the glasses out of the car. He's handling it barehanded. It doesn't seem to do anything. So I'm not so sure what the properties of that cotton candy are, but whatever. Well, again, don't think about it too much. Just watch it and enjoy.
Were the pies at the end acid pies like they were for the graveyard shift guard? I mean, I don't know. Could have been.
Well, that's something that they could. Well, like I said a little bit ago. In this video game, oh, don't touch it for too long. It melts your skin or blah blah blah, whatever. I mean, it takes one line of dialogue and you've explained it perfectly. It doesn't take any work at all.
It could be like you could be like trapped in it or something. You got to get out in a certain amount of time, or it could be like an AOE effect where it's like you're in this and you're burning. I don't know. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's that wouldn't be hard to explain away of the how and the why.
No, it's like the the spitters from Left 4 Dead 2, where it's like they have acid and then they spit it and there's shit around you, and when you kill them, they still like explode into it and make a big puddle. And don't touch it, obviously.
Yeah, real quick shout out to Real Mysterious, who dropped a $3 donation on Stream Elements for us. He said, my favorite clown is Casey, who you see in the picture right now. Frank is my favorite YouTube host. Tex is my favorite cowpoke. Jeremy gives me hot flashes. Bakura is my all-time favorite. And just as I said that the thunder and lightning moved in on Q up here.
Why am I always the sexually objectified one? What the hell?
Well, somebody has to be.
Worse.
And we can't. I mean, if we do it to Cora, we're going to get canceled. So, unfortunately, I guess, buddy. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I put makeup on today. That's why. I understand.
I mean,
you can't deny that the hair is looking pretty good tonight. Just saying.
I got it cut yesterday, so yeah.
If we, Cora gets a pass because it's a woman's world now, and that's why it sucks. But it is what it is. So.
Hey, I hate how stupid the world is today, and you fucking know it.
Yeah, Mike, she also hates it, though, to be fair.
Let's see. So a couple more pieces of trivia. The masks of the clowns in this film were also seen in another classic comedy. I'm sure one of you guys is going to know this. Either Tex or Jeremy is going to remember this once I say it.
It was in another horror film?
In another classic comedy film. These same masks, including this one you see on the screen right now, were in Ernest Scared Stupid, but they were painted brown to look like trolls.
Really?
I think three of these masks were actually used in Ernest Scared Stupid. These exact masks were used in the film.
Okay.
Wow. I haven't seen Ernest Scared Stupid since I was a kid. I did not realize that.
If you get a chance, I don't know if you guys ever watch Minty Comedic Arts. He does these like top 10 things you didn't know about whatever movie. He actually did a video about this movie, top 10 things you didn't know about Killer Klowns from Outer Space. He actually has some pictures of them. So when you hold like one of the pictures that I just showed you against the picture that he had, it's very obvious, except for one's painted like a clown, one of them's just painted brown because like in the movie I think it just climbed out of the mud or something like that. But they're obviously the exact same mask.
Seeing it side by side, though, it's like, I could be like, I see it now. But so that's what I'm saying. That's the craziest thing about you can give something a paint job or do some weathering to it, and I'm like, it'll make the world of difference. It's wild how much you can change something with just that. And that's my favorite part of doing props is I'm like, making it's one thing, but I get giddy as shit when I'm like, oh, okay, I get to dirty it up, I get to weather it, I get to make it look like this, or I definitely didn't make my Han Solo gun out of a kid's toy because it was painted. It was white plastic and orange plastic, and I'm like, yeah, but a wicked paint job on that. That simple, and it's cheap. Right. So don't be afraid. I mean, that's the thing about props. I'm like, you can look at anything and see, and you'll see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know, but this movie actually had a kind of a different title. At first, it was just called Killer Klowns, but the Chiodo Brothers thought that this might make people think that that the movie was going to be something it wasn't. They wanted people to know that it was going to be a horror comedy and not a straight up horror film. And they thought that if they called it Killer Klowns, that people would think it was going to be a straight up slasher film. So they added From Outer Space to let people know that it was going to be a goofy movie, because anything from outer space at the time was obviously usually a goofy kind of satirical comedic thing. So originally it was just called Killer Klowns, but they added the outer space in production. Jeremy, obviously we look back on it now and it doesn't matter to us because we've been watching this movie however many times over the course of the last 30 years. But I don't know. I mean, do you think it was a smart decision by them, Jeremy?
Yeah, because that could also get confusing. I mean, the title, that's what you're going to run with. So, I mean, I guess kind of make it make sense. If I saw this and it was just called Killer Klowns, I'm like, it gives it that uniqueness too, because I'm like, yeah, how many times have we probably seen a killer clown? Like we were just talking about Art the Clown, you know what I mean? And talk about Pennywise. Even I don't think, well, Billy's kind of more of a puppet from Saw, so not really a clown, but you know what I mean?
no, he's not a clown. He's a puppet.
Yeah, like a marionette puppet. But just adding that, and it still somehow it just rolls right off the tongue, and it's, I don't know, it makes it work, and it makes it unique, and you're like, oh, I know exactly that movie you're talking about. You're talking about Killer Klowns, like, okay, well, which one? You know, oh, the ones from outer space. Yeah, I know that one. Well, with the popcorn gun, that guy, yeah.
Yeah, that clown.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Tex, what do you think? Do you think it was a smart move? I mean, considering the films that were coming out in the late '80s, do you think it was a smart move to differentiate this by adding the title?
Oh no, they had to differentiate brand wise because I mean we've had so many killer clowns in different forms or whatever. If it wasn't for the from outer space part, we wouldn't be talking about this movie probably right now. It would have been lost to time on the heaping pile of B movies that were made in the '80s. And the name is so outrageous. I mean, even the font. You know, you've got Killer Klowns in this, you know, distinctive font, very pokey, very pointy. And then you've got From Outer Space and completely different fonting on the bottom. The logo stands out on a T-shirt. Recognize it.
I was gonna say, because I've seen that T-shirt. It's cool. I've seen so many people wear it.
Yeah.
Wasn't the font?
Yeah,
Wasn't the font on in the scene where the graveyard shift guard, the amusement park, was that not the same font that was on that?
I think it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Actually,
it looks very close. If it's not the same, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When you see Killer Klowns in the gigantic, like '80s style, kind of like a Van Halen type logo with the big pointy letters and whatever, you know, it's got like an AC/DC Kiss kind of, you know. All of those from that era had the bigger logos. And then you've got From Outer Space on the bottom and just kind of regular font. It stands out.
Yeah, it's also not unheard of to alter or add something to a movie's title after the fact.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't happen a whole lot. It's different, but it's definitely something that happens from time to time. Because I know they changed the Birds of Prey movie they did with Harley Quinn a couple years ago. They kind of they initially, well, they sort of kind of left it the way it was, but in the marketing they changed it just to Birds of Prey and focused on that instead of all that additional stuff they had at the bottom of it. They didn't really market it like that.
Well, yeah, the name was so big it wouldn't even fit on the placards at the movie theaters. It was like 15 words long. You can't have a movie title that's that long. It's too big. What was it? Was it Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn? I think that was what the actual title was.
Well, I think so, yeah.
Long, I have to get out of here. It's one of my best friend's birthdays, and I'm due for a group video call to celebrate with her from afar. So, I will catch you all later. And
we'll see you later, Cora.
Have a good night. Right. See y'all, bae.
We'll see you.
That's what I'm saying.
Tuesday.
Don't talk to any clowns on the way.
Could you imagine where, you know, buying a Birds of Prey and blah 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 Harley Quinn T-shirt? It would have to be two-sided to fit all the words on it. You know, there's just not room. So, you know, Killer Klowns in huge letters, From Outer Space in between. It works just fine. You know, I mean,
if you try to get the movie poster of that Harley Quinn movie, it'd be like a fucking CVS receipt. It'd be all the way to the floor.
Right. It wouldn't be a poster; it'd be wallpaper in your house.
Yeah,
like you're going to put it on the whole wall.
You see my my rug down my hallway? It's that.
You know, it wouldn't have changed the movie itself, though. That's why I kind of think to myself, yeah, because let's face it, this movie was not going to do gangbusters when they made it. They knew it. I mean, they knew it was not going to be an Oscar winner. They knew it wasn't going to make $1 billion at the box office. But I mean, the movie still would have been in the form that we got it. It would have been exactly that. So I think in time, the movie would have still resonated the way it does as one of those cult classic midnight movie kind of things. So I don't think in this case it matters a lot. Yes, movie titles matter, especially in certain cases. I mean, it's like the Indiana Jones movies. It's Indiana Jones and the whatever. or stuff like that. But sometimes you don't need
Harry
it.
Potter and something.
Harry Potter and something. Sometimes it's just Star Wars. You don't really need the Phantom Menace. You don't really need A New Hope. It's just Star Wars. You're like, okay.
You also have to take into account too. This came out in '88. This is like towards the end of the horror boom of the '80s. How many titles were they making monthly of different sort? That they were being bombarded, and they didn't have trailers that they cut and put out on YouTube. They didn't do press like they did. The only way most of these things advertised was good cover art and a cool name. That's what Roger Corman swore by.
Newspapers.
Your picture's got to sell, huh?
Newspapers. I bet neither one of you guys. I bet neither one of you guys remember seeing ads for drive-ins and theaters and newspapers.
I have an active drive-in near me. I still see.
I mean ads in newspapers. I mean, drive-ins still exist.
Oh yeah, no problem.
There used to be a whole section of the entertainment of like what was playing, and I'm sure they still have it in some smaller fashion now. I haven't read a newspaper in I don't know how many months, but there used to be in like either the local section or the TV Guide or whatever. They would have this area where it's like this is what's the theater listings and all that. I think they still do, but they used to have. They would have for some of the movies. They would have like full page ads, like when Top Gun came out or one of these big movies that they wanted to really market. They would buy like a half page above the fold in like the lifestyle section or wherever it was at, saying Top Gun, these showings, blah, Tom Cruise, blah, make it.
Whenever I was a kid, our local cinema, not a drive-in, but the local, like the multiplex, whatever, it had like 3 theaters and it was barely a multiplex. They would advertise in the paper, or we would do the whole thing where you called movie phone or whatever it was. So it was either one of those things. That's what we did.
No, you always had to drive by. The sign was always out by the road, and it would show you what was actually playing on those little,
But that was my point, though. I mean, go back to Roger Corman, the king of the B movies, the king of exploitation. The guy did it for like 70s. He's still technically doing it. You got to have a cool cover art. You have to have a cool name because we don't have the money to advertise anywhere else. You see Killer Klowns from Outer Space, you're at least going to check into it because it's going to catch your eye.
Oh yeah.
I know people who review movies, like there's a guy who the first thing he does is he pulls up the picture of the poster. He's like, all right, we're going to look at this. We're going to analyze this for a second. Because some of those like bad movies from like the 80s and 90s that have posters, like Samurai Cop, has nothing to fucking do with Samurai Cop. It doesn't even look like him. Has nothing, none of it. He doesn't even decapitate a guy. It's like a cop holding a guy's head with a sword. And that never happens in the movie. He's like, but it looks cool, I guess. I'm like, yeah,
it's a great visual.
It's a Samurai Cop, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it could be worse. Like, you could have a movie like Friday the 13th, but technically it's either Saturday the 14th or some places like even a couple days after that Friday. But, we just don't worry about that.
I love that shirt where it's like Friday. It's like not even the right date, and the calendar's like, and he's just a sad Jason standing there. It's like the wrong date. I'm like, oh, poor guy.
Yeah. We're getting a little something extra from my cousin Jerry, by the way, in Alabama. What's up, cuz? He says they still have props in the movie At the Boardwalk. That's my cousin Jeremy, by the way. Nice. Yeah, they do. Honestly, and I'll say this, and Jeremy brought it up earlier in the chat, my cousin Jeremy, that is. They actually filmed this movie in the area where I grew up. All of the stuff that was filmed in town, I believe, was filmed in Watsonville, downtown Watsonville. As a matter of fact, where the guy gets shot after the puppet show, shot. There's a website or a YouTube channel called Grim Collective, I think is the name of the channel that I subscribe to. He goes around and kind of does some of the like filming locations and stuff like that, different horror movies and suspense movies and stuff like that. Awesome. He's a really cool channel, so you guys should go check him out as well. He actually had a really cool interview with Shelley Duvall talking about working with Jack Nicholson. But he actually went, this gazebo that they're in right now is actually in downtown Watsonville. It's actually still there. It's actually closed off. It's fenced off. Nobody can use it. But I mean, forever you could go into there and just have lunch or whatever. It's actually still there. And in the end, as they're running out of the tent and getting out, they're running through that little midway that you can see the roller coaster in the background and all that. That's the boardwalk. That's in my hometown of Santa Cruz, California. That's the same boardwalk where they filmed the opening sequences of The Lost Boys. That's the same place, just at the other end of the boardwalk down by the arcade and all that. So, yes, that's one of the reasons why I hold this movie so close to my heart is because it was filmed in my hometown. They were filming it there when I was a kid. They've actually filmed lots of movies in my hometown. They filmed one of the Dirty Harry movies. They filmed a lot of in my hometown. I think it was maybe the last one. It was the one where he throws the guy off the roller coaster and he crashes through the glass ceiling of the carousel and dies at the end of the movie. They actually filmed down on the boardwalk as well. They filmed a lot of stuff at the boardwalk on there. A couple of YouTube videos that I really like were filmed at the boardwalk. Actually, Us, the Jordan Peele movie from a few years ago, he filmed a lot of that in Santa Cruz. The beach that they're on at one point in the movie is actually the main beach, and you can see in the background the boardwalk. They filmed Bumblebee there. You can kind of see the boardwalk in the background of Bumblebee early in the movie when she's riding her little motorcycle down the wharf. That's the wharf in Santa Cruz in my hometown. I fished off that wharf countless times. So Santa Cruz has been in a lot of movies. You know, fun fact, I'll probably get into this a little bit more when we eventually do Lost Boys, is in Lost Boys, they called the name of the town Santa Carla. They wanted to just leave it as Santa Cruz, but the city of Santa Cruz didn't want them to give the impression that Santa Cruz was actually the murder capital of the world, which is what you see on the other side of that sign as you drive by it. So they were like, well, if you really want to call it the murder capital of the world, then we want you to change the name of the city. So they ended up changing the name of the city to Santa Carla, which I thought was kind of funny. I would have just left it because who the hell cares? But yeah, they've been filming movies in Santa Cruz since probably the 20s and 30s. I know a couple of surfing movies were filmed there. There's a lot of stuff that's been filmed there over the years. But yeah, so yeah, that's one of the reasons why I've always held this movie very close to my heart, because it's one of the movies that has stand out to me as one of the ones that was filmed in my hometown, and I can see all this stuff. Now, I want to make very clear that the scene at the very end where all this stuff is blowing up and the thing is going away, that is not the boardwalk. That is actually a matte painting. The boardwalk does not look like that. The Giant Dipper is actually white. It's not brown. It looks kind of like the Beast. Jeremy will know what I'm talking about.
That looks like the Beast. Straight up.
That was actually probably filmed in Los Angeles. That doesn't look like it was filmed at the boardwalk. It was probably filmed in a soundstage or something somewhere. But yeah, so this movie was filmed in my hometown again. Should have gotten an Oscar. Don't know why it doesn't. But yeah, it didn't get anything. Let me look one more. This may have gotten a couple of smaller awards. Let me see. Nope, no awards. Completely ignored by the awards. Those bastards. You figure it would be. I don't know if the Saturn Awards even existed back then, but you figure it would have gotten a little something. You know what I mean?
I mean, at that point in time, horror was barely above porn. So I mean, it was not looked at. It was not looked at.
Well, if you think about it, even now, horror is a genre of film that doesn't get a lot of love from the awards. I mean, there's no best horror category at the Oscars. I mean, they might get some of the special effects awards. They might get nominated for some. They might get nominated for like sound editing or something. But I mean, the last movie that could be considered a horror movie that has won any of the awards was Silence of the Lambs, and I don't really consider that a horror movie. I consider it like
that's not a horror.
Like
I've had that argument with so many people. That is not a horror film.
Yeah, I don't think that's a straight up horror film. You know what I mean?
It's a
I mean, not just actually. People say that The Shape of Water, that won the Oscar as well, is horror just because it has Gilman in it. I don't count that as horror either.
I don't really count that as horror either.
I don't either.
Yeah. JSP popping in towards the end, as usual. What's up, JSP? You can see you, brother. Glad you were here, even if it is just for a minute. But real quick, before we get out of here, I got to hit you with it. Jeremy, what do you think the body count was of this movie? This is actually really interesting. The way it words it, it's really odd.
Right. So here's the kill count portion of the show where everything's made up and it doesn't matter. So 40 is what I'm saying. Because I definitely didn't watch Dead Meat's kill count and just took their number because I don't care. But yeah, 40. Well, to be fair, he was like, "Look, this is a fucking nightmare. I'm not counting all those bodies in that wide shot when they're in a ship." He's like, "I'm sorry, I can't." I'm like, "Fair." So he ended up with an even 40. So I'll go high.
40. I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to say 105.
Okay.
That seems a little crazy. Well, for what it's worth, my cousin Jeremy agrees with you. He says over 100.
There you go. Great minds think alike.
Here's the funny thing is, according to IMDb, you could both be right. Because according to IMDb, and again, I swear to God, I feel like it's hilarious the way they word this. It says
it doesn't matter.
It says at least 40. So it could be 40. It could be 105. I'll give Jeremy the win because I feel like that's fair.
Yeah, no, he said 40 and so did they. Kudos. I concede the victory. He earned that one.
One of these days, we're actually going to have to be like, okay, somebody needs to watch this movie and actually count the number of people who take the dirt nap, because I want to know how accurate. Now, look, IMDb's trivia is not always the most accurate, because I'll look at like IMDb and Wikipedia and some different things to find out production notes and things like that to try to pull pieces of trivia. And I have read a few, especially for the last couple of movies we've done, where there's like contrasting pieces of trivia that don't really match. It's like this one's like, this movie was filmed on like 35 millimeter the whole way. This was like, no, it was filmed on 8 millimeter. And it's like, so there's always these conflicting pieces of trivia. And I never know which one is right. I just always go with the one that sounds funnier or that's going to piss Jeremy.
Whenever the official person from IMDb says, well, it's at least this many, I'm not going to care because they obviously didn't.
Yeah, they obviously don't care either.
Like I said, I usually always try to look after watching a horror movie, is there a kill count from Dead Meat? Because I'm like, it's fun and you get some background and stuff behind the scenes. And I'm like, sure, that's my baseline. I'll just go with that. And I know he even has rules. There's movies that he hates because he's like, oh, God damn it, I got to pause and like count bodies in like one whole frame. Like he's a Carrie. And Carrie was a nightmare because he had to pause with the gym scene. But
it's much easier to do a kill count like in a Halloween film, because okay, Michael attacks this person, and this person.
Yeah.
Then we see that dead body over there. But when you've got a town full of people wrapped in cotton candy in an alien spaceship,
right?
Good luck.
Also, if you said that sentence to me, I'd be wondering what kind of drugs you're on. Like a whole town wrapped up in a cotton candy alien spaceship of clowns. Okay.
Right.
So at least 40 is probably right, because you have to imagine 40 people live in that town. They probably got more than 40 of them. So at least 40. That's a lazy way of saying it. Whatever. JSB's got a good idea. From now on, maybe I should just do it over under. Should it be over under the total deaths of?
Hang on. I do want to put this out there. Eventually, we're going to review a zombie apocalypse film. And when Frank says, what's the kill count on this movie? I'm just going to Google the city of whatever that apocalypse is taking place in, and that's going to be my answer. I'll take like 5 away or something.
The population of Boston was 1.5 million, so I'm going to say 1.4.
Yes, that's going to be my official answer, because, we don't do a lot of TV, but let's say we did Walking Dead, right? What's the population of the U.S.? Just saying.
You're talking Atlanta, Georgia, and then you're talking like, they film it in Sonoya, Georgia after that, and then they're in They go to Washington D.C. and then they go to fucking Pennsylvania and then Ohio. So it's like there's a lot of
Some rules need to be constituted for this here nonsense game we're playing, because
you gotta have rules, damn it.
Maybe when it comes to these movies, I need to find a better source than IMDb, so that way I get something a little more accurate.
Get a second opinion at least.
The whole at least 40. It's just like you got to 40 and then stop counting. You're like, fucking, I don't want to count.
I would say check IMDb, Google it, and maybe like movie something or another. Like get like 3 sources and then take the median or something. I don't know. Go somewhere along those lines.
Maybe
some it's easier than others.
That could be something, but that seems like
get some estimates.
Yeah, that seems like a good place to start wrapping things up. Thanks to my amazing co-host, first the Dowager Countess Lady Cora. She had to cut out a little bit early because she had some other plans, but we're so glad that she's actually got. I guess she's got most of her moving done, so she's not going to be as busy. She'll be able to be back on here full time from now on. And of course, thanks to my hetero life mate Jeremy. What do you got going on the internet, my friend?
Well, just like I'm sure me and Tex are both very excited. Tomorrow is the Texas Chainsaw Day. I'm so excited. Tomorrow's Texas Chainsaw Day. It was the date that the movie was set, August 18th, 1973. So 50-year anniversary of the date of one of the most bizarre crimes to ever strike America.
You mean home defense ever? It wasn't a crime.
I know, I'm telling you.
Well,
the home invasion.
Leatherface committed no crimes. He is innocent, by God. He's a sweet boy.
That when he runs up to sweet boy, when he runs up to the window and he's like looking around, I'm like, he's panicking. He's like, where the hell are these people coming from? And why are they in my house? Like, you got to think about it. Like Walking Dead, Negan's not a bad guy, really. I mean, if you followed his story, you'd be like, yeah, Rick's an asshole.
He's a savior. How could a bad guy be called savior? Just saying. Come on now.
Exactly. Okay, so yeah, tomorrow I definitely plan to, watching the movie. I'm excited for next year, which is the anniversary of the actual movie, 1974. So that'll be the 50-year anniversary of that. The game also comes out tomorrow, so we're thinking about streaming it. That's probably going to be on her channel because she actually has the insanely powered PC, and I can't even say a peasant PS5, but I have a PS5. It's a little more complicated for me to try and do it than her, but yeah, the two of us will definitely play it since it is cross-platform. So we'll see what this game's about. I'm excited to see this Texas Chainsaw game. So tomorrow, if anyone wants to come check that out, it'll be on her thing. I think you have her linked in the thing, right? Below, I think.
Yes, I have her. I have the link to her channel there. Yes.
Okay, because that'll be on. I think she said she could do it on YouTube or she can do it on Twitch. So more than likely, that's where it'll be. So come see us run some laps with chainsaws. That'll be fun. Other than that, I know for the last 4 years I've said I was going to play Outlast for spooky season, but unfortunately, it's spooky season and I end up having a second job. So more often than not, I am way too damn tired to do anything. But hey, there's that. My busy season's kicking in.
Yeah, there may even be a couple of streams that Jeremy can't make if we decide to do anything on the weekends, because I know the weekends are a busy time for him. But one of the things I was thinking of doing is I was thinking about rolling up there and maybe vlogging. I don't know if that's going to work for Jeremy or not, but I'll work out the details of that. But maybe doing a little bit of walkthrough and maybe recording some stuff so you can see exactly what Jeremy talks about when he says he does a haunt. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you get it, but it'd be nice to get it out there exactly what he does. We can work on those details later.
I mean, it does say don't be recording anything, so I'll leave that up to you. I didn't hear what you just. I'm not about to be legally bound by the fact that there's a sign that says don't video record anything. I'm like, hey, I didn't see it.
Okay, fair enough.
To be fair, you are 80 feet underground. Anything you're going to try to take a picture of is going to suck. Trust me. It's hard to get pictures. You got shit floating in the air. You got gliding is going to be a nightmare. Just, I don't know. It is kind of a pain in the ass.
And to our man, the shape from the Lone Star State, our man Tex. What do you got going on, my friend?
I do have a movie recommendation. I was poking around on Tubi last night, and I found it's a film. It was made in this year, 2023. It stars my girl, Scout Taylor Compton, my favorite final girl scream queen of all time. Crave is the title. It's a home invasion vampire film. I don't want to give too much away. Kind of a slow burn, but
I think I may have heard about that, but I hadn't seen it. I think
it's kind of a slow burn at first. It's very low budget, but that's not bad. Just like Frank said earlier, in horror, it doesn't have to be made for $100 million.
No.
It's a fun movie to watch. It's got a good group of victims in it, and you like watching them get ate. So go check out Crave on Tubi. It's a Tubi original, so it's the only place you can go see it, but it doesn't cost you anything. Go check it out.
There's actually a couple of Tubi originals that I've been wanting to watch. I know we had joked a while back about the Gabby Petito story that they were making immediately after all that stuff and kind of went down. That's actually on Tubi, and I saw that on there the other day, and I was like, I wanted to text Cora and be like, "You want to watch it and do 10 minutes on it just to kind of bitch about it?" But I was like, I haven't sat down to watch it yet. I don't know. Maybe I'll reach out to Cora and see if she wants to do that at some point. But I don't want to do a full review on it because I don't think for one, I doubt it's going to be all that good. For two, I don't really want to. I feel like it would be benefiting off this whole tragic situation surrounding her and all that. And I don't want to be that way, but yeah, I don't know. There's a couple of things on there that were interesting, but yeah, go check out Cray. I know I've heard of the movie. I know I've heard of it.
I heard of
it's
that.
Good.
Yeah.
It's got a fun. I mean, like I said, basically the premise is a group of teens that all look like they're 35, but they're playing early 20s. I guess I don't really know. But
hey, if I
break
shaved,
into
I would
house.
look like one too.
They all break into a house to have a party, and bloodbath happens. So you'll have to go check it out for yourself. But it's worth a watch. I think it's about 90 minutes. I can't remember exactly, but I watched it last night. Honestly, I wasn't bored. So it was fun. I mean, like I said, it's got my girl Scout Taylor Compton, my forever horror crush. besides Alexander Daddario. It's those two.
That's fair.
But you know,
JSP says, so you guys read Suitor Kane? I don't know who that is. Obviously, I don't. I don't know who Suitor Kane is. Does that name ring a bell for any of you guys?
No, I'm also reading something, but no.
I try not to read in general, but that's just that is what it is. So.
Yeah, if I wanted to read, I go to school.
Reading some nerds.
Yeah. As for me, you can find me here a couple days a week going over either some retro review or reviewing some new movies. And Tuesday, that's going to be the case. Tuesday, we're doing Blue Beetle. So be here Tuesday, 8:15. I'm going to see Blue Beetle probably either tomorrow or Saturday night. It's going to be one of those nights. We're definitely going to go see that. So I'm going to give that a watch. We'll be back here Tuesday breaking down that movie. So come and check us out on Tuesday. Rotten Tomatoes already has it certified fresh. The reviews that I've read and heard on YouTube and stuff so far have been very, very good. I'm very excited. I really want DC to take a big step up. Now that Gunn and Safran are running things, hopefully this is going to be the first step in what's going to be a great DCEU. We'll be here to talk about that on Tuesday. So hopefully you'll get a chance to see Blue Beetle over the weekend, and you'll be able to come hang out with us on Tuesday. JSP, that's a quote. That's from In the Mouth of Madness. JSP says. Apparently that's a quote.
I've seen the film. I've never read the book.
I don't know. Never seen either.
I have no idea.
It's been a long time since I've seen that movie. I don't remember that line. I'd have to go back and watch it. But that's a good movie.
But and then obviously you'll see us back here for lots of other stuff. We've got a couple things that we're thinking about doing. We were talking about a TV show that came out on Peacock that maybe we'll do like an hour or so on, just for shits and giggles. We might do that. Another clown-related.
More clowns.
Another clown-related piece. But that's going to be a lot of fun. But until then, I don't know. Thanks a lot, everybody, for coming to hang out with us. We very much appreciate it. We will see you guys on Tuesday as we break down Blue Beetle. See you guys then. Until then, don't trust any clowns. They're just bad people.
No, that is racist. Clowns only want to entertain.
Clown lives matter.
Nice.
Right?
Clowns matter. We're not. I will not allow this clownsism going on that y'all trying to do here.
There are people too.
Go watch Killer Klowns. Go check out Santa Cruz, California. It's a great place. Bye.